Hey guys.
Hey, we're at another episode of Crazy Peas. Episode 4?
Yes.
Awesome stuff. So, today, or tonight, we're going to talk about some random shit like we always do. Um, Tonight's focus is going to be a bit more stories like we last week. We're going to try to stay away from the one topic that he loves to talk about. Um, but yeah, this week we're gonna talk about a bunch of random stuff like we always do, and yeah. So how are you doing it tonight, Tim?
I'm doing good.
Awesome. I'm Thomas Paxton,
I'm Tim Potter.
and yeah. So we went to go tonight to go see about getting me a laptop. Actually, it's kind of random and out of nowhere. I mean, not really out of nowhere per se. It was just something that like we wanted to try and do. Because I haven't had a laptop of my own for like one that works anyway in years. Because I had the school laptop and that laptop, the power part for like plugging in the power adapter to power it on and charge it, went out a little over a year and change ago. So I was asking my one brother-in-law, his younger brother, to charge it and stuff, and or at least to get it fixed, with a solder, and that never happened. So uh, now the laptop itself is just sitting underneath my desk, just dead to the world and everything. So yeah, I believe it is my phone. Yeah, it's just going off nonstop. Because like news and Facebook and Twitter and all that
Oh, I
other
just
media
figured I just
stuff.
got hearing a buzz. Okay,
Yeah,
not my phone. Nobody wrote nothing.
yeah. No, nobody came into the chat room and said anything. So
It's Alan. Tell him to go watch the podcast.
no, it's not Alan.
No, if it was, I'd be like, we laugh, homie.
Yeah, no. He would it would show up as a phone call because like right around 10 or 12, he's been calling me right around that time because he's bored and he's at Maverick and he's got nothing else to do with his life except for be bored at Maverick and be pissed off at the world. And
What?
so he's kind of like the clerks that you see on the movie Clerks. Is the fact that he's got nothing
Oh,
better to do than be pissed off.
he's at work?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he'll call me when he's at work at Maverick, and he'll storm about the world, and he'll talk about how bored he is, or talk about his dog that he's debating on whether he's gonna put down or not because the dog keeps pissing and shitting in his house, and the dog is like 10 years old, and so uh, that sort of thing. Tim's face is like confused.
Well, no, because it's the thing. Well, is he too lazy to put a diaper on the dog? Because I know they have diapers for dogs.
It's
And
not even his dog.
It's his in-laws' dog.
then give it back to your in-laws and
They're the ones that's going to do that. That's the thing.
That's what they talked about doing. Yeah.
Hey, can you toss me my headphones?
well, if that's what they have to do, that's what they have to do.
What?
Ooh, what?
The headphones in the cubby
Kobe. With
I mean,
to the Twitch. I mean, yeah.
it's a pen.
right. That's the left side. Is that the one in front of you?
No?
There
Right
is
side.
only like that's a charger. I'm not sure what the hell you're talking about, honey.
It's not here good.
The kids must have took it. I had
Probably.
the headphones on my desk. Sad face. I guess I'll just have to listen to TikTok and try to be quiet.
Go downstairs.
Or maybe you could just hang out there and stuff, or you can join the show.
You?
No,
My
you're our,
face is naked?
dude, you're our background noise. Remember the last episode? You laid over there and was talking crap. Nobody could hear you except for us. Well, they could hear you, but you were like a whisper in the background. It was kind of nice. I actually
Yeah.
watched the last episode. I always watch my Twitch after we're done streaming.
What do
Alright.
bills do this week? I don't even
I'm not sure what it's talking about unless it's like
subscriptions. That's what I'm thinking.
the cash net that I stopped paying months ago.
Stop.
But
Do not scratch up my bed.
stopped paying the loan companies, months ago, the loan sharks. To try and actually pay them off sometime soon when we have money for it. But we gotta pay gotta live, gotta take care of our family. But Yeah, no, it's been a kind of an interesting week this week. I've been trying to get around to actually putting projects together and get things done and things ball rolling. It's just really hard when, you've got your work, your job, and then my three kids that are under six, and we've got our routines down and everything. Just the
Yeah.
routines tend to overtake everything else, and then you got wifey poo in the background there that's been working on like her applications with her cats and drawing her cats for the last 3 or 4 days in a row. Ever since I got her that pen, the tablet pen to draw.
She said the first day she worked like, what was it,
12 hours.
6 hours
No,
on.
it was like
on,
it was 12.
no, on his. Drawing one or two of the characters.
No, I was working on it.
She hasn't worked on the characters for my book ever since she got the tablet pen. It's always been Pussy. It's been Pussy with paws.
Stop making fun of my cat OCs.
No,
Like that's all she does
I'm a
is draw
proud
cats.
furry. Suck it. Go get a fursuit and wear it. Fucking
oh, if we're gonna do furries, you needed to put Super Saiyan 4 Brawly on here, not regular Brawly, for the background.
Yeah, she's all about her cats. She's all about like that's what she does. She does roleplay groups. I've gone into Google Docs just to kind of see where I need to go with my books and stuff because this computer is the main one that I am able to do anything on. I've tried doing it on my computer, but for some reason the kids decided to lose the batteries for the keyboard, and it's just weird trying to write on a desktop that has like it's literally a dinner table, like the it's one of those portable
It's a TV tray.
TV trays that they have on the carpet and stuff. I've been writing on I was writing on a TV tray for
one
months.
Muslim has?
Apparently Verizon's in 4 days.
Hey.
And Comcast is.
I already paid
Dude.
Verizon.
Okay.
It was
Stop
like
talking about
$280.
bills on the live stream. That's bad. 1, 2. You were talking about the thing, like that one.
Yeah, the TV tray.
Okay. Well, because you have ones like that, and then you have the old school ones that are metal with the clips, and it's a metal tray,
And
but
yet
it's got
there's-
little plastic bullshit clips.
And yes, I just drank caffeine soda out of a giant 100-ounce cup. I'm not going to get through that whole thing tonight. Promise you. I'm going to get like quarter way into it, and I'm going to put the rest away.
Or the kids will drink it.
Using it for tomorrow.
No, you must hide it from the minis.
He doesn't hide it. He just falls asleep with it out in the open.
Put it in the closet sometimes, and I still find it. But like, it's because
The
Arian,
little people, they find
well,
everything.
Arian and Cass are obsessed with candy. Like, when we started realizing that we were putting all the Halloween candy in like the closet stuff to try to keep them away from the kids,
Uh-huh.
kids found them, and all they would do is just grab the candy bag and just be like, and then suddenly we like came up to the loft and found out they came up to the loft and sprayed all the candy everywhere, and were giggling as they were jumping up and down on the bed with candy and shit. It was crazy.
They were cranked out like they were on.
Oh yeah, no,
Drugs.
they always get cranked out. You'd think that my children were on crack, but they're not. They're just on candy. But yeah, no, it's
And
crazy.
Sugar's more addictive than cocaine, they say.
That they say. I wouldn't know. Wouldn't be kind of be the judge of that. But yeah, like yeah. So this last week I've been trying to get my videos up, my reader reviews. I know I talked big game about that last podcast. I was gonna try and do Soul, and I was gonna try and do like a couple more other videos. Didn't end up happening. I have so much stuff that came out this last week, but it's fine. I guess it's like the second week of January. So tonight and tomorrow I'm gonna be working a lot more on that, and then this upcoming week I'm gonna try and do a few more video reviews that are different. But that's me on my side of things. I also have book titles for the next 4 or 5 books that are in my saga, as well as novellas. So that's a thing. Tim, what have you been up to?
Just keeping myself busy. I literally do nothing 90% of the day except for work out for an hour or two a day and then go goof off.
DoorDash?
Then other stuff.
Yeah, I'm just like, this is Thomas with Verizon. That's me. 8 hours a day.
Hey, I gotta try to make a little bit of extra money, and with the rule that they put through last year that I didn't find out about until I think it was March,
Yeah.
that it went through last year 2020 in January, that you can make up to 900 and something and they won't take away your disability. Cool. So I make $800 a month. Started that in October. They don't take away my disability, so I can keep paying my bills. Of course, even if they took away my disability, which I hope they don't because I'm so disabled I can barely do the DoorDash. Hi, Dave. And the funny part is that's kind of hard to do and make lots of money. But I mean, if I was gonna make lots of money, I'd never be at home, never see my kids. So that would suck for them and me.
Yeah.
Because when I did that for a week when it was slow, just to make a couple $100 minus what I'm putting aside for taxes, they ended up, we don't see you enough. It's like, okay, I gotta dial it back. Go out there in the busy times.
Yeah. Okay.
The last like 2 hours of them being awake. Okay, it's 6 o'clock. Give me hugs and kisses. I'm gonna go run off and make money. You've seen me all day.
Yeah. And for me, it's like I get up at like 9, 8 or 9 or 10. Usually, it's like right before I get a fucking clock on to work. It's pretty bad, but I get exhausted. And then like 10 till like 10 to 12. And my first break's at 12. Then I come out to the living room, go upstairs, check on kids, check on wife. Usually Amber's on the computer, or she's trying to help Aaron with his homework or whatnot. Or the kids are actually in school, and the kids this last week were out of school because we were trying to make sure that they didn't have COVID. That was another thing that's happened this last week, which is why I didn't do any reviews, is because I was busy trying to make sure that they weren't sick, and I was busy trying to make sure that they weren't, and the wife was just down, out for the count. Like, that was what she was doing when she wasn't drawing, was she was just,
Dead to the world.
yeah, she was on the couch, and I came out to the living room and saw her laying on the fucking couch, and I was like, so this is what we're doing. We're just sleeping. And she's like, I feel like ass. And I'm like, you feel like ass? She's like, I feel like death. And I'm like, so you feel like death and death? And she's like, wait, did I say ass? I'm like, yeah. And she's like, I meant death. And I'm like, okay. And so I had to go get OJ and got to go get Sunny D, just pump them with the vitamin D and vitamin C so I could build their immune systems back up. Because here I am
Sunny D
freaking out.
doesn't have vitamin D in it, right? It even says so on the bottle.
Oh, whatever, right? I was trying to get something that would build your immune systems back up. Part of it worked.
Why don't you just shut up and get you vitamin C?
I mean, the kids fucking, when they drank, Cass was a glutton for it. Like, he fucking kept having me put it in his cup because for him it's just juice. And so he put it in there, and it really helped them with their colds. I mean, they were heavily active and stuff. They weren't just like asleep all the time. That's why, like, when they said, "Oh, we are afraid they have COVID," I was like, I don't know about that. Like, they're still acting like their same old selves. Like, they're bouncing off the walls and literally bouncing off the bed. I'm not sure about that. Like,
Well, that's last year carrying over into this year too. It's the whole you're sick, you're coughing, you're sneezing. No, I sneezed because somebody put too much pepper on something, or your perfume or cologne made me sneeze.
Oh
Yeah.
no, with Cass and Ari and Phoenix, they had runny nose, sore throat, fever, cough, like every single symptom.
But I'm saying basic, like BS cold. Everybody's like, oh, it's COVID. It's like, dude, it's winter.
I was even
People
watching
get
The
myself.
cough.
No, dude, people freaking legit gave me shit. They're like, "Oh, you have COVID." I'm like, "No, I have asthma. Suck off."
Right?
Oh, I was even watching myself to make sure that I wasn't catching anything, because usually the captain of the ship goes down when the entire crew starts going down. And
Right.
so I was like watching myself the last few days to like be like, okay, well, I've been sneezing a
Aw,
little bit
you
more.
called me captain of the ship because I went down.
I mean,
No.
I was gonna talk about myself, but
He
you're
said,
like the
"What's
co-captain.
of
You're
the
like,
ship?"
so see,
So-
I'm the captain of the ship, but you're the first lady of the ship. Like, you're the Captain S, or the first in command, that sort of thing.
And the poop deck wench.
No.
I was not downgrading
He's the
you.
king, you're the queen.
Yeah, I wasn't downgrading you at all. I was more
He
like,
runs the kingdom. You just make sure everybody does what he says, so that way there's not dead bodies all over the
it really
fucking goddamn
happens,
street.
because I'll sit there and come out and start like throwing criticism's eyes. Like, I side eye the shit out of her. I'll be like, I side eye the shit out of her, and then she suddenly starts changing the way she's doing shit, because she'll be like, have I really been on YouTube like 3 hours? And I'll be like, yeah, you have. And then she'll be like, I wasn't talking to you, babe. I'm like, oh, you were talking to yourself. And she's like, yeah, I was talking to myself. I'm like, okay, well, yeah, you were on YouTube for 3 fucking hours. Get the fuck off YouTube unless you're gonna clean. And I was like, well, unless you're gonna fucking carpet clean, or she's like, you can't carpet clean. I'm like, no carpet cleaner. I'm like, well, unless you're gonna vacuum, or unless you're gonna restructure. You said you were gonna go through some stuff. And she's like, well, I was busy doing this and this. I'm like, you mean you're busy fucking around? She's like, yeah. And so we had
But
to,
that's a couple things
Yeah.
too. It's like, what did you do today? Not a fucking thing.
yeah. Like,
You're lazy.
but
Not
it's
today
like-
was my relaxed day. Fuck
and
off.
see, I understood to the point. This last week, I didn't give her a lot of help for it, because I was like, she's also sick. So I wasn't gonna give her a lot of hell for it, but at the same time, I was just like going, when I feel like shit, I do dishes at least. I do something. And I had to do the dishes twice this last week, which isn't a bad thing. I usually do them at night when they're asleep anyway. In fact, they'll get up in the morning and they'll come into the living room. I don't even know their reactions because I'm dead to the world, but they'll come up. And the reason why I'm dead to the world is because I fucking was up all night cleaning. But like, I'll go get up and kind of come out to the living room and see all the undoing of everything I did that previous night. But then chances are, came up and got up, went to the living room, and Amber's like, "Oh shit, he cleaned up everything," and she'll see like the whole living room all like clean and everything. Everything is all situated. We've even got like I have like such a routine down for it, down pat. They're like I know that some stuff goes on the shelf, some stuff goes over here. I have like everything. I have it all situated in my head as far as where everything goes, and so it takes me like maybe like 5 or 10 minutes now just to clean up the living room. And most of the hours that I spend is, oh shit, the bathroom hasn't been mopped in like 3 days or 4 days. And some of the people will be like, well, why don't you just do that once a week? Have you seen my children? No, you haven't. I have 3 children that are under 6, and they're messy, and they're high energy, and they will.
Plus, you got some animals.
Yeah, and they will wreck the world. Like, they will wreck the entire apartment. They will turn the apartment upside down, and the apartment's only 900 square feet. That 100 square feet will be upside down.
Is it only 100?
900.
Oh, 9. Okay.
That's why I was saying 900 square feet will be turned upside down. Like, you will be like, is that what the other 800 feet are? I've only seen 100 feet of them. It's like, you think you've only seen 100 feet. You've seen the whole 900 feet. You've just seen it clouded with everything. They went ahead and they flipped that fucker upside down, then they threw it down the stairs, and then they threw it on the bed. And, like, everything's all everywhere. And so, like, I do a lot of, like, picking up with that. And, like, a lot of daily routines. I get so tired, too, because I'm just, like, walking around and be like, okay, okay, and I just do a lot of that stuff. It's just over and over again every fucking day where you're just doing that.
It's become your routine.
Yeah, it's become a thing that I do. Like I used to idealize me like, once we get everything down pat, I'll literally have a routine where I open up my laptop or I open up, because I don't have one. I'll open up the computer and I'll start like working on stuff, and I'll get so used to typing out something, and then when Tim comes over or someone comes over, I'll be like, guess what I did today, and I'll get like excited. But no, it's just like when they come over, I'm just like, guess what I did today? They'll be like, what'd you do? I'm like, I cleaned. That's the grand sum total of what I did. Or I worked. I got a paycheck. And so it's just like,
Yeah, I'm not living in a dumpster.
Yeah, it's like I'm living in a decorated, clean dumpster that's at Layton Ghettos. That's what I did. But yeah, no, that's what I've done this last week. Was I cleaned a lot, took care of the kids, helped Amber with the kids. Because before, I do have to admit that years ago it was a lot worse. Years ago it was like you come home from work and like the entire house, like the carpet looks like, you're just like, has that pizza crust been there for the last 3 weeks? Like that's used to be how bad it was. Now it's like if there's pizza crust at all, it's because of the fact that I forgot to pick it up the previous night. Or it's because of the fact that we got done with all the pizza stuff, or we got done with all the food, and then I just didn't just throw it away immediately after.
Or one of the kids accidentally took it out of the trash can because they were curious.
Yeah, that too. Kids like to take shit out of the trash all the time. It bugs the shit out of me. But like,
But that's kids.
yeah.
Yeah.
You guys say that, but it's like,
I know
Not
it irritates the shit out of you, but
there are things that have to be done a certain way, or
They're
things that have to be
not
done.
little adults, Thomas. They're kids. They don't understand that.
that's why you have to teach them.
I've said like 3 times in the last 17 minutes that there are 3 kids under 6, and so I get that. It's just we're trying to teach them better, because before they only knew us before. They knew what we were before. They knew the whole like
Bad habits.
Bad
rebelling
routines.
yes,
against
the bad
parents.
routines. The daddy won't clean anything because he's too wrecked from the work week. Mommy is too emotionally blah, 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 and so you get like that whole impression that the children have, and the children only know what they're told or they're taught, which is why recently today I went into the Nintendo DS Switch thing that Amber has, and I just committed the mortal nerd sin again. I called it a DS. Went into the Switch, went into the internet part, and went to go type in the password because Aaron was all like, "Internet's not working." So I went to type in the password, and I go in and put a like thing, and he was like, "Wait, is that my name?" And I'm like, "Yes, buddy, your name is part of the password." And like I just kind of went like that, and then he was just all like, he's all like, "Oh wow," and I'm like going, It's been that way for years, but you just barely noticed that because you know how to spell your name now. But like that's kind of like a thing. So he no one knows his name, like his how it's spelled. My other son, my middle child, Cass, because I've been working hard on like their spelling and like their numbers and stuff like that. And I know Amber's been working on it on her end. And I know this because yesterday I was trying to work on cutting the last few episodes of the podcast while he was out with her and stuff, doing stuff. And the kid brings up the milk carton from that I got from Dollar Tree. That because I'm super rich, I go to Dollar Tree. Take the milk carton, put it on the desk, and I'm sitting there opening up the systems that I'm using to do the things, and it says milk on it, right? And he goes, K. And I'm like, thinking he's saying okay. And I'm like, yeah, that's a K. He's like, L. And I'm like, yeah. He's trying to, I. And then I'm like, okay, he's starting to impress me. W. And I'm like, it's not a W, buddy. It's an upside down W. And he's like, I'm like, yes. What does it mean? And he's like, W. And I'm like, no, W doesn't. Does that go a wa or an M? And he's just like, W. And I'm like, is it an And he's like, I'm like, what is an And he's like, W. And I'm like, upside down W. And he's like, W. And I'm like, what about an M? And he's like, milk. And like that's what he did. So that was yesterday. And so now I know he was paying attention to me because the other like a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago, I literally pulled out the carton to be a smart ass and was all like, hey Cass, what does this spell? No. I was, what does this spell? And he's like, what does this spell, kid? Is that a K? Yeah. Is that an L? With like a tail at the end? Yeah. Is that an I? Uh-huh. It's like, what is the last letter there? W. So it's Wilk? And he's like, no, it's milk. Because he knows it's inside the carton. And so like I was all like, so what does it spell? M. And he's like, W. I. L. K. What does it spell? Milk. I'm like, so what's the first letter? W. And I'm just like, you're dead set on it being a W. But anyway,
that might be also dyslexia.
yeah, it probably is. So he's like his brain flipping it upside down. He's seeing it the opposite way that it actually is. So that's something we're gonna have to think about. But yeah, so that's the adventures. The last 22 minutes have been the adventures of my kid's life. But yeah, one of the other topics I'm gonna be talking about is going to be writing. He talked to me about doing that. He's like, "Why don't you talk about your writing?" And I was just like, "Ah." Well, like, because I don't like to be like, "Blah," but then he was just like, well, I've been "Blah," about politics and everything else, so why don't you go "Blah," about everything else for you? And so I was just kind of like going, "Ah." So this is going to be a test of me to get past a bit of insecurities that I have about talking about writing and talking about stuff that I'm going to be talking about on my YouTube channel anyway. So it kind of makes sense. But yeah, so as far as writing goes, uh, one of the processes that I have, I know I talked to him about it the last 2 episodes ago, talked to him about it. He doesn't really have a process really. He just sort of was like, this sounds interesting. It didn't stick. Fuck. Oh wait, it kind of stuck. That's kind of his process. He throws
I'm
stuff.
random as fuck.
Yeah, he's random as you can tell. He bounces between topics like crazy.
Last episode was real bad.
Yeah, like I was there and I was okay. So I had some guy Will. I'm gonna talk about this stuff because we're real with you guys, right? Like this is Crazy Peace podcast. What you guys tune in for is the real shit. There's gonna be very little editing that's done when I actually like process all the episodes. It's just taking a while to actually get to that fucking point. Not to mention the fact that when you're I'm gonna be a little unfocused for a second. When you're trying to take the episodes and put them into Adobe Premiere Pro, which is the software I use, the file type is MKV or something like that. It's a weird file type name. Adobe does not like that file type. So it makes me go the extra mile and use VLC Player to convert the fucking thing to MP4. That's what it does. That's why it's taken so long. And like you're like, oh, well, if it only takes like 5 minutes, then you're still being a lazy fuck. No, see, you're trying to convert it, and then what happens is when it converts, the thing gets out of sync. I learned that yesterday, in fact. I learned that the first time, and then a billion things came up, and then it took me away from it. But yesterday, I learned it real bad because I converted it twice, and each time it was like either like wouldn't convert it, or when it did, like we played the beginning of it, and it was like, and like our mouths are moving, but the audio was out of sync, and I'm just like, that's fucking whack. It's gonna look weird on YouTube. And so I took a step back and was like, let's revisit this. But like, so that's what we're trying to do. Is I'm trying to get it to where it converts and trying to get it to where all the stuff is situated so that when we do drop it on YouTube, it looks good. It has decent transitions. There's gonna be like a Tarantino feel to it. Like it's not gonna have theme music or anything. So I
Not
feel
yet.
like
We're still working on
yeah.
that.
So if you're still like, if you're gonna expect us to be like or something like that, something identifiably us, it's gonna take a minute. But I'm at least gonna get like
We're
the
still working
slides
on the
down.
intro.
Yeah, we're still working on an intro type thing. But basically, we're trying to work on making this thing an actual show rather than just like an episode we record where we just like do a bunch of random stuff. Like it's gonna be random stuff, and that's probably what your guys are tuning in for. But at the same time, it's also gonna be us trying to find a focus so that we can be a show essentially. But yeah, so as far as this goes, my process when it comes to writing is not the way his is. Like he throws stuff at a wall and sees of a stick. I used to do that. And then I'd find myself into the immortal black hole that is called writing purgatory, where you sit there and you write a story, you get to a certain point, and then you just sit on it for months because you're like not sure where the fuck to go. And then it ends up sitting there forever, and then you turn around and you find out you're stuck, and then you end up rebooting it because it's been like a year, it's been 2 years, and you're like still working on the same fucking thing, and everyone's like, where are they? Where are they? Why aren't you done with it? And you're just like, fuck. So I used to do that. Now I use what is called the 12-act structure, which is really a micro version of the 3-act structure, which is the hero's tale. So for me, I will sit there and I've had multiple narrators. I don't seem to be in chat yet. There's
Well, no, there's notification.
there's like one person that's watching. Hi guys, it's one person. Hi, it might be the
So
same
one
guy from last
person
week.
on Twitch, tell us who you are in chat real quick.
Yeah, let us know.
'Cause I
Like
think you've been watching for like the last couple of weeks.
you're like our most loyal streamer. We appreciate you. But like, yeah. So tell us who you are. Tell us what you like. That sort
I'll
of
be right
thing.
back. I'm gonna rush.
Okay. If you guys have any ideas as to what you guys like, think that you guys might like that we can do, then let us know. That way
Tell
we
us
can
if you
kind
want
of.
us to shave our faces.
I don't want to shave my face.
Okay, we'll just trim it.
Apparently, he wants us to shave our. I asked you guys if we should shave our face. You'll probably get like a trim out of me. You may get a full facial shave from him.
I'll
Um,
Why don't we do full face?
Apparently, my wife says that she'll let me shave my head.
No,
Which
I'll let you shave part of my hair.
oh, part of her hair.
You do.
Oh, she'll let me shave part of her
We
hair.
just did the bullshit bottom part of the beard, not the actual
Should I
beard.
shave between your legs or should I shave?
Yeah.
What,
Just trim
Thomas?
up the
Kidding.
beard.
Oh, I didn't hear what you said.
I
What?
said, should I shave between your legs or should I shave the upper part?
Thomas. I'm
I'm kidding. But like, yeah, if you think that if like you guys think we should talk about certain things, you're like not talk about certain things, but like if you guys have ideas as to what we could talk about or things that interest you that you might like that our take on, like this is the Crazy Piece podcast. So randomness is kind of what we do.
I got a suggestion.
What?
You talk about the fact that you lowered your price on your book this week.
That's right. I haven't thought about that at all because I don't ever think about that. So my price on my
Look at
book
me being
used to
your
be
manager.
$5.99 on Amazon because like it's on Amazon KDP or it's on Kindle Unlimited for Prime. Now it was $5.99. Then I dropped it down to $2.99 because I was trying to see what would match and try to get some sort of consistency. And now, for right now at least, for this weekend and probably next weekend and the weekend after that, so basically January, the weekends, unless like I find out that people actually like that, then I may just stick with it for all of January and then jack it back up to $2.99, a whole $2. It's going to be 99 cents for a little while. I'm trying to see if people are interested in that. Trying to see if that's something that brings people into it. I'm also going to be working on videos that is me narrating the book, and it's not going to be like a Bueller, Bueller. No, I'm actually changing my voice. Like I'm going to be like Crimson Nightfall. Like I'm going to be like changing my voice, or I'm going to go from like down here to down here, and like just kind of try to play around with it a little bit. I want it to be engaging. Plus, another thing I'm going to be doing with the videos, I'm going to be adding some music, which I have stock music from Adobe, the Adobe website, where the Adobe website has stock music for free, which essentially is like really high, up ante like production music, which we could use that for this. But like right now, I'm going to be using it for the audio book series to create a series of audio files that are for each chapter. And so it's basically going to be me narrating the boys because I have three guy characters, and then I'm going to have lovely wife back there narrate the girls because it makes sense. I'm going to have her do the girls, and so we're going to create like our own little audiobook for the story, and probably going to end up putting that on Audible.com, depending on how great we make it. Like we're going to listen to the whole thing and be like, is this something that would be marketable? Is this something that is high quality, or should I just stick it to like a website or something? We're going to figure it out, but like that's the thing we're working on.
So you want to do the videos, but then take the audio out of it for the audiobook?
Kinda, yeah, is what we're doing. Either that or
Okay.
just re-record it entirely for an audiobook itself.
I wouldn't record it because you, the way you are in front of the camera, it seems to be like you're natural. No, I want to be in front of the camera. So you being in front of the camera shows your true person. So I think that would be best. And then you just take it, the audio, and copy it
Yeah,
and use it and just stitch
That's
it
fair.
together.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so what we're gonna be doing is we're gonna be doing that. We're gonna be recording it and recording us, talking to the audience and being like, it's gonna be like how you're at a reading and stuff, except for it's gonna be like interactive because there's also gonna be sound effects and music and stuff. And so you're gonna like be listening to it, and it's like you're listening to a movie. Is essentially what I'm trying to do. And so I'm gonna try that for the first book, see how far we get, and then if it keeps going and we actually really enjoy it, second, third, and fourth and fifth book are gonna all have that type of experience. Yes, I'm writing that far. I'm plotting a saga for fuck's sake. But like, not waiting for a studio to say yes either. Like I'm doing it myself. Like I'm not waiting for some studio to be like, vampires are in now and they don't sparkle. I'm not waiting for that. Like I'm waiting for like I'm basically just doing the thing. Like I'm making the stuff.
I
So
hated that in the Twilight series. Why the hell are they fairies?
not to mention the fact they're vegetarian. They're not even vegan.
No, see,
They're
that
just
makes sense to me from the vampire point of view. But the thing that it makes sense is why are they fucking fairies as in sparkly? It's like, no.
Well, why would it make sense to have them be vegetarian if they're carnivores because they drink blood?
Well, because some of the books I've read with the vampires who were like, no, I don't want to kill people because I got turned and didn't have a choice.
Okay.
It's the, okay, what can I do instead of killing people? Well, you have blood banks nowadays, but back then, back in the old days, it's okay, I have to find something that has blood, but it will sustain me and keep me strong. And in some of the books I've read or audiobooks I've listened to, it's they pick animals. So that part made sense to me because I've heard that story or that
Sick to Freak did it. They did
Yeah.
they did animal blood, but animal blood was only enough to keep them going to sustain them for so long before they absolutely needed human blood. So that was the limitation with animal blood and Sick to Freak.
Well, I don't even remember. There was another. I know which story you're talking about, but there's another story out there, and I can't remember its name.
There's so many vampire stories. Have you looked at Amazon? Have you looked at Amazon and typed up dark
No,
fantasy or
I know how
vampires?
many there are. I mean,
Like,
there's been ones I've read. It's the whole thing. Well, human blood makes us stronger. Are you sure, or is you're not drinking enough animal blood?
I was
That's where I
so
like the Twilight because no, my animal's this because it coincides
Yeah.
with who I am and what my soul
yeah,
sort of thing.
and it's fine like having because Twilight's Twilight. That's clearly a very sellable series because they've made so much goddamn money from that series.
It's a chick flick series.
Yeah, clearly they made some money, so clearly it was successful. That being said, I think it's fucking dumb if all deer vampires in your world, like some of them, I could see some of them being, vegan or vegetarian, much like humans are, because sociology is a thing, and like clans and
Everywhere.
cultures and things like that, and but the thing is though, is Twilight was so small, and so like we're all in Forks, and then in one book we're now suddenly in Italy because that's where our coven is. That's where the council is. And everything like that. But like it was
It's like
so
DC
small
for
scale.
the U.S.
Yeah, it was so small scale. It was like we're in
For the
Italy, but
UN.
we're also in Forks in Washington. And so it's like, okay, so you're in one place of the country. And so it was a very small scale. So it was like, okay, so these vampires in this one family, this one fucking family, not like 3 families, not 7 families or whatnot, one family, the Colons. And they were all vegetarian and shit. And so you didn't get like a whole like different dose or flavor per what family was in the story. You got the one fucking family, and they're all vegetarian. And Edward's like got this superior complex. And he's like, I feel like I've been alive for over 100 years or whatever the fuck. And he was like, I don't ever sleep. And so I was forced to watch the first movie, so I'm literally just quoting the first movie. But like,
Well,
I
that's
watched
the part that I
Rift
liked
Tracks.
was-
So okay, so I've watched New Moon and I've watched the third one, and then I've watched Breaking Wind, parts 1 and 2. But I watched them with Rift Tracks, so I had someone else that was not part of the me audience or my uncle audience. I was watching it with them. I was watching it with Rift Tracks, so Rift Tracks made fun of it for us, so it made it more digestible. So we got to listen to some comedian make snarky remarks while we were watching the movie. And believe it or not, Harry Potter's also really awesome with Rift Tracks because like they make fun of everything. No one is safe from Rift Tracks. No one. Like there was a part of the movie where they were making fun of Hagrid and Harry Potter together, and you're just like, that's hilarious. And then they were like, of course they were making fun of Harry for having such a big bond with Sirius, and they were like, Sirius, you using up Harry as a fucking wannabe, and you're like talking about saying, your best friend, his dad is never gonna be Harry, right? Like you should know that right now, you dumb fuck. Like they were like, it was like this entire thing where they were making fun of the dynamic between Sirius and Harry. It was and like an edgelord 17-year-old me ate it up like crazy. But yeah, like so I've seen Twilight, like all the Twilight. I only bring up Harry Potter to be like, by the way, Harry Potter wasn't safe either. It's a thing. But so I watched all the Twilights. I did. And the thing I had an issue with Twilight, which is a similar issue that I had with Harry Potter after I watched Game of Thrones, is how small the world was. With Twilight, it was like you have like one vampire family. See, in a normal vampire movie, it's like okay, you have the one vampire guy who's the vampire lord, even though there's not like thousands of vampires or hundreds of vampires. You have the one lord, and then you have like 2 other sidekick vampires. And if you kill the vampire lord, you kill off everybody because that's generally the myth of vampires. In Twilight, it's one family, and that's it. That's all. And they're all mysteriously in Forks.
The one movie series I like is Underworld.
Yeah, I liked Underworld. Underworld
Because she killed the guy who made her a vampire, but she's still a vampire. Awesome. You
Yeah,
don't have the bullshit lore. No, you killed the guy, so now you're back to human.
and it's playing on the whole vampires versus werewolves too, because of the lichens. And then you got the one main character who's like lichen and vampire at the same time, and then you got her. She's literally a product of the villain in the first movie. Like she's literally like descended from him or mentored by him. And so like when she goes up against him, it's like that familial bond. It's like the daughter versus the dad, and so like it's got that complex. It's almost like Return of the Jedi. Like the son faces off against the father. Only she's not trying to redeem him; she's trying to stab him. And
right.
and so you got like this difference in, but you got this familial bond, and so it makes it kind of heartbreaking when he eventually does die. But like yeah, like I liked how Underworld was with like the differences, because like in Underworld it made sense because there's like a lot more going on. Like there's so many different vampires, and they're all not all part of the same fucking family. So I liked Underworld, and I liked the Underworld series. Like I was really sad when they stopped making them because they
Have you seen the 4th one?
I think I watched it with JB, my co-host over at the Gallus podcast, which by the way I haven't brought up that podcast at all, but I did a podcast with Jonathan Leday over at on the Bloody Streams and Cinema Macabre. So if you look it up on YouTube, it's on my channel, but it's you look it up on YouTube, Gallus podcast, Cinema Macabre, that sort of thing, you may be able to find it, Bloody Streams. We haven't made an episode in fucking forever, so maybe why it might be harder for you to reach it. But beside the point, we did a lot of horror podcasts and stuff on there, so plug there. Yeah, as far as Underworld goes, I watched it with him, the newest one. I watched it with him, and it was kind of cheesy. Like, and granted, I remember the third one. Wait, which fourth one are you talking about? I'm talking about the one where she's walking towards the camera nonstop, or when she's walking away from the camera nonstop, and the camera just like follows her. She's combating
it's
bad guys. It's like
the
arcade
fourth
style.
movie. Unless I think it's the fourth one, or is it the fifth one?
You're probably talking about the fifth or the sixth, because I believe they made a fifth one or a sixth one. It's the most recent one.
Yeah, I have it at home.
We're like,
I have it on Blu-ray.
there
I
was
have them
someone.
on-
There was someone that was in a cage, and then like she was all sad, and then she
It was
ended
her
up
daughter.
Okay, and then someone ended up stabbing someone else. It was like a cliche underworld type strand at that point because they've made like so many of them, so they created their own tropes within their own world. I liked that one overall. It was just cheesy as fuck. It was like sci-fi movie cheese.
Because you had the first one,
Sci-fi Channel.
and then on the second one, she ended up taking the blood from the original immortal that was just, I became immortal. Which was the father of the two sons that one went to werewolf, but not regular werewolf, it was wolf all the time, and then the other one was the
Yeah.
vampire. And in the second one, the vampire son ended up drinking blood because they killed the werewolf above him, but because he was from the bloodline straight from the original, he ended up getting wings like a bat. And yeah.
So he was
And then the
badass.
third one was her waking up. Was that the third one? I think the third one was her waking up, and they're like, "Yeah, well, we have your man and whatnot."
Yeah.
And they had her daughter trapped or something, and her daughter got away.
Yeah. Well,
And then the one after that, I vaguely remember because I haven't watched it as
There
much.
was the
I gotta
one-
rewatch the whole series again because I've.
there was the one where they were looking for him, or her boyfriend who made the girl, and he was missing because he was not there. And the real story is the fact that the guy who made the movie series, the director, got in a fight with the actor guy who plays her
Michael.
husband. Yeah, Michael. He got into a fight with her. Like, as much as I like Len, as long as I like Len Wiseman, he got in a fight with the actor who plays Michael, and because of the fact that Kate Beckinsale,
main character.
she's married to Len Wiseman, the director. So Michael, the guy who plays Michael, got in a fight with Len behind the scenes. It was a thing that was talked about years and years ago. Swept under the rug, and nobody cared about it after that. And so it wasn't really talked about. But that's why I know why his presence in the story was watered down significantly.
And why he was killed in the third movie.
Yeah, and so that's why like he just disappeared and just isn't around anymore. Is because of the fact Len was just like, fuck that fucker, I'm gonna write him out. And so so he put him somewhere else, and then was like, let's make it to where the third and fourth movie are about finding him, and it's like, So
And
that's
the daughter,
yeah, and so that's why that happened, and so now that and so the next movie was about her daughter, and like honestly, it's like at this point, I don't think they're gonna make any more of them. I want them to make more of them,
I
but I
think
don't know if
they
they're gonna
ended
make
it
any more.
fairly well the way they did.
They did. They're gonna be rebooting them though.
Yeah, I've heard
I looked
that
it.
one
I looked
too.
it up and recently, the last year, and I was like, "What the hell is happening with Underworld?" Because I was, you know how old I was when I watched first Underworld?
Nope.
I was 12.
Youngin.
Yeah, I was a little kid. I was a little fucking kid. So I went to go see it in the theater with my Uncle Brent, actually, who's now dead. And went to go see it with my Uncle Brent and my dad. And so it was like a dad and his brother taking his kid out. And so we went to go see it. And of course, at that point, my agoraphobia, or the fear of blood, was so intense that when I watched the first one, it was so bad. That's part of why my character, by the way, in one of the previous drafts, has a fear of blood and can fantasize the blood. Is because I gave him that quirk, in which like I can't even look at my own blood without being like, and so that's why like
Kind of like Mom.
so yeah, and so like when you were saying go donate plasma, I was like, put a needle in my arm for money. That might work out if my agoraphobia
That's
doesn't
why
kick
you
in.
put the headphones in, you stare at your phone and watch whatever movie while they're poking you and stuff.
Yeah, the hospital.
Completely ignore it.
Yeah, the hospital. This last time when I went to the hospital for the ulcer, scared me away from the hospital forever. Like, cause I was in the hospital and they were like, let's take some of your blood because we want to make it sure that nothing's wrong with you and you're not like dying. And then they were like, oh yeah, you were internally bleeding, by the way, you almost died. Just so you know. And so like they took my blood for the first time and they stabbed me and stuff and then they drew it through it and then they put like the IV in my arm. So I literally had an IV in this arm, and then I had an IV in this arm. Keep forgetting the camera's over there. The IV in this arm. And the IV in this arm was never fucking used. Which, granted, that's a good thing because then that means that
Well, then
it's
you
not
just have the
worsening.
bullshit
It's not
flexible
as-
plastic needle in it.
yeah, it's not escalating, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
What's going on? We're talking about my experiences in the hospital.
Currently.
Mr. Alunian, hello, sir. How are you doing tonight? We talked about you, or at least one of you that was viewing us tonight. We appreciate you. So I was in the hospital, and I had a needle in this arm, and then a needle in this arm. And the reason why I have not really touched the idea of going into there, like anywhere where there's needles involved, is one, I had a tattoo, and I like the tattoo idea because it doesn't involve me bleeding nonstop. And
Right.
so they took out, but they take out my blood nonstop, and so I was either getting it out of this arm where the needle was the IV is supposed to be, but the IV was attached to my arm with a system with those little bags that hang down with the tube. I don't remember what they're called.
Your saline water.
Yes. So I had
It's
that.
basically salt water so you don't become dehydrated.
Yeah, so they were pumping me. It was the most dehydrated I've been an entire year. Because I'm terrible and drink soda a lot. But like I've been drinking more water, I promise. But like, yeah, soda addiction. But like I had the saline thing in my other arm, and so I had that pumping in my system, and so they would have to draw blood though to watch my blood count, and so they would either take it out of this arm or take it out of this arm where where the IV was supposed to be, or they would just poke my fucking hand. Like I have so many different like needle marks from when they poked my hand.
Oh, you mean when they try to get these blood vessels?
Yeah, when they get those, and so I
I
haven't
can never hit those on my arm.
I haven't gone into it. I haven't gone into my experiences that much because it was like, ew. So like I spent like 2 or 3 days in the hospital and it was very uncomfortable. So like yeah. So like anytime I feel like anything's going on with my body, I just get this insane anxiety attack from hell. But like yeah, so it's pretty bad.
Okay.
But like so anytime you talk to me about going to donate plasma, the first thing that goes into my head is pure sheer terror. I'm just like,
Why haven't you ever
arm,
told me that?
blood coming out of my system for money. Am I selling my soul? Was this what's
Yes.
going on? Like
That's why I told you, when I donate plasma, with as much medicine as they make with it, I will be connected to everyone.
yeah,
We're all part of the crew, and you didn't even know it.
yeah. He was trying to sell me on all this other stuff. Like I'm along for the ride with the government one because I don't know how long I don't know how far it's gonna go. He's a do good. He's a do gooder. You know,
I
he
do
does,
my best.
He does good things. I mean, he hasn't led me and Amber too much astray on certain things. He also like this version of him is the version of him that I like. 10 years ago, I couldn't
The
stand
real
him.
me.
I dealt with him. I tolerated his ass, but 10 years ago, I was like, should I trust him as far as I can throw him? And I don't know how far I can throw him. But like 10 years ago, there was a version of him that was like molded by his
No,
by his current wife.
that's where this comes into play.
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
how far could you throw me? I don't know. Which one are you? Are you Super Saiyan or Brawly? No, you're Super Saiyan. I'm Brawly because I'm fucking.
see, that's the thing though. Superman though, that's the tough contest because Superman's red-eyed, like he's pissed. So he's like full on fucking Kryptonian. So like unless there's like green kryptonite hanging underneath his belt, this guy's belt right here, the yellow-haired guy's belt. Unless there's kryptonite hanging around in there, he's got no chance in hell. Like this guy, like if you were to go by scientific analysis of how far that punch goes, like
Yeah, but
he may not be a standard human. Like the Super Saiyan guy may not be a standard human. He may have a Dragon Ball that's helping him out with his power, but
Well,
that's the only thing that's keeping his brain from becoming
Do
like
you know the
decimated brain matter.
what is it? The canon or the backstory they've done? Because they launched it on what is it? Z Fighters on the app on the phone. But
Yeah,
they explain it. Brawly has the bloodline before it was. It's not the Super Saiyan. It's the Berserker where the hair goes green, not
Yeah.
yellow. So what it is that's the natural state. What everybody thought was Super Saiyan,
hmm
but they talk about it like no, the ones like Goku and Vegeta. No, they have the tainted blood because they don't do the Berserker. They just go straight into Super Saiyan. There's something wrong with the bloodline. But on the last movie they did where they re-threw Brawly in and made it canon,
yeah,
they showed Vegeta turning green for a second, which proves his royalty blood is actually pure. It's not tainted because he can still do the Berserker mode if he needs to.
Yeah.
But Brawly's Berserker mode with the Super Saiyan on top of it is the equivalent to Super Saiyan Blue, which is basically Super Saiyan for God mode.
Okay.
So he's the equivalent of that at basically level 2 instead of Goku and Vegeta, which is like level 6 now. If I remember correctly, let's see, 1, 2, 3. We skipped 4 on canon and go straight to God and then Super Saiyan God, essentially.
He looks really muscly.
That's the thing that I didn't like with that version of Brawly, is because they over muscled him, but yet him as regular, he's just like me. He's like, yeah, I'm here.
It looks like he's fucking like got like steroids coursing through his body. Like that looks really unnaturally fucking muscly.
Well, the funny part is, your wife, my sister, found this picture, and I'm like, that's like old school Brawly, which nobody liked because he was just a complete douchebag. He went from normal to, I'm going to kill and destroy everything because I'm enraged. Just like, no. I like the new one because he doesn't try to go into straight rage mode. It just happens.
And this like Soups looks like he's fucking like the
Angry as shit and wanting to kill him.
Do you remember the movie that came out a while ago that had like it wasn't Superman but it was like a Superman ripoff?
Oh yeah, I know which one you're talking about.
Where he's like evil Superman and like kills his parents.
Yeah.
Like, literally in the story, it goes from in original Superman lore, he saves Clark or saves Martha and Pa Kent, but in this movie, in this storyline, he fucking kills them. Like they don't hold back. He just by the end of the story, they're dead. And so
yeah, because he basically went with pure rage and I'm in charge
went with
because
the
I'm
anger
badass.
and stuff,
Yeah.
and he was basically an alien from another planet, and they didn't really go into like whether or not they'd be other aliens or anything. And so far, they haven't talked about a sequel, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna do a sequel of some kind. But essentially, this guy, this Superman, is kind of more in line with him. So I'm pretty sure that this Brawley guy would put up a really good, decent fight, and then he'd eventually just die or something, unless he's like immortal somehow. Like it would be a really fucking that city is about to get fucked. Like that's how bad it's gonna be. Like that city, there's gonna be no city left over. Like everyone's gonna be dead. Like if they're both like, I'm gonna kill you, then they're probably gonna die. Like if they have one of them has any remote resembling caring for human life or innocence, maybe someone will be spared, but for the most part they're dead.
See, that was always the funny part about Superman. No, you give a shit too much because what was it? The last part of this, I don't remember if it was a series or in a movie. I think it was part of a series where he's fighting Darkseid, and Darkseid's like, yeah, well, you can't kick my ass. He's like, actually, I've been holding back my whole life because everything, if I touch it, just with just my regular strength, without being super duper powered down,
Yeah.
like I make myself, because everything's like cardboard, I touch it, it falls apart, I would destroy everything in an instant. And he goes full force and just almost instantaneously wipes the floor with Darkseid, which, if you watch the series of Superman and the beginning of what was it?
Which one?
League.
Justice League.
Yeah,
From the
because
90s?
it was Justice League Unlimited.
Yeah, the series, right? Or the movie?
Yeah, no, the series.
Okay.
That he told Darkseid finally, well, fine, then I just won't hold back.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna wreck your shit.
You got
And
two
Brawly,
aliens that are like
this
two
Brawly
aliens going at it.
in freaking Berserker mode is, I can destroy everything in reality and break the freaking time continuum and reality itself because he has no control. He's like basically the Hulk that can fly.
Okay.
He's always angry.
So he has no self-control.
He has no stopping point.
Okay.
And what was it? Deathmatch just did one where it was the new Brawly mixed with this Brawly. They kind of took the lore of both and kind of put it into one versus all of the lore of Hulk.
Yeah.
And he won because the way his Berserker mode is, he can keep going. And him burning out is just him, but basically the Hulk hitting him, his anger, he just goes straight back into Berserker mode, indestructible mode. But the Hulk, you eventually can destroy him because you keep hitting him, eventually you're gonna break the point that heals the Hulk, and he won.
Yeah. So a bit of background why we're kind of going into like the background image is one, we've never talked about the background image that much in any of the podcasts. We just sort of stuck it up in the background and then like forgot about it. But
Yeah, on
also
the
too,
recording, yeah.
but also too is he is heavy into like Dragon Ball Z. Like you would think that if he worshipped a god, it would be Goku. And so like
No,
because, like, well, when I walked in your house, I literally thought I was looking at the house of worship of Dragon Ball Z. Like, I was like, there was an entire wall of just, like, Dragon Ball Z. It was, like, the Dragon Ball, the legendary Dragon Ball, and then, like, Dragon Ball Z. And there was, like, an entire bookshelf, like, shelves just lined with it. And so, like, and I'm not understating anything. Like, I'm not exaggerating anything. Like, that's literally what his house looks like in the living room. When you walk in the door and you look to your left, boom. Like, it's all over the place. And so,
special.
so he's got quite of a mythos knowledge of how Dragon Ball Z works, which is why when I was like talking about Superman versus this guy, he was just like, I know who that is, and he was like going into it. I was like, okay.
Well, I grew up on the Superman cartoon series, and then it was Justice League, and then Justice League Unlimited. I remember when those all came out because, I mean, I grew up with that stuff. I grew up with the original cartoon series of Batman, Spider-Man, X-Men, when that all came out in the 90s.
Yeah.
I remember that crap because that's kind of, ooh, they have a series now. Let's watch. And when I was doing that on PBS back before cable was in my house or we had enough money to afford it all the time, it was one of those weird things where it was
Charlie!
yeah, random people.
Someone liked your video on TikTok, so I had to be like, Charlie
Yeah.
Wallace! Shout out!
But no, I found Dragon Ball, some episodes of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z on Saturday, so I'm like, okay, let's watch it. And it was within the first like 4 or 5 episodes of Dragon Ball Z I found out, and then I found Dragon Ball through the internet when the internet became big, and I'm like, okay, I gotta find this stuff, find out what the hell the mythos, and I just started watching it, and now they're rewriting because the guy who actually writes Dragon Ball Z forgets half the crap. He's even admitted, I forget this stuff sometimes, so I just rewrite it or whatever.
Yeah.
Because they did that with the Brawley movie where they went backwards and explained some of the stuff that through some of the just filler movies that he didn't exactly write, but he's like, okay, yeah, sure, go with it. So
Yeah.
we can make money with the Dragon Ball Z and whatnot, and they filled in a whole bunch of stuff with the last Brawley movie, Dragon Ball Super Brawley. I have it on my phone through the Funimation app. Because Nephi bought it, and I'm like, I want the digital copy, so he gave it to me.
Yeah.
But it goes through some of the background that they don't tell you about, or they've hinted at here and there through Vegeta talking about it. But they've actually gone back and fixed a lot of it, so I'm like, okay, I know right where this fits in. So I know everybody's power level, and even though now in Dragon Ball Super everything's so freaking power level, it's just bullshit. Okay, where are you? Are you God level? Are you just regular human level? Are we Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3?
Yeah, so you're trying to figure out like what their
What
exact
everybody's
power sets
level
are
is,
and
yeah.
everything. Yeah, so that's his background. He like does a lot of that stuff. Plus, also him and I can go back and forth on like some of the DC knowledge and everything. Me
And
personally,
Marvel.
I've watched the Justice League series. Need to be rewatched because we were here on it again. I know quite a bit of Star Wars. Grew up on it. I was little 5 years old watching Empire and Return of the Jedi 8 million times till Darth Vader's sword turned silver, like the lightsaber turned silver. And then I was watching. I watched a lot of Pokemon. But a lot of my background is very Marvel, DC, and Star Wars and other stuff like that. When he goes into Dragon Ball Z territory, I mostly just go, because I don't know much about it. I don't have that big knowledge base nerd wise. So a lot of times he'll go on about it, but that's why it's fun and cool that Amber found this image of Superman versus this guy, Brawley. So as far as story wise, when it comes to Brawley, who the fuck is he in compared to like Goku and like? Because I know Cell, I know Goku. I was I think 9 when I watched Dragon Ball Z on Toonami, And
Okay.
I watched it out of fucking order because it was just reruns nonstop. I had no idea what the fucking timeline was or anything like that. So when you and Nephi go on about like the whole gods this and Dragon Balls and all this stuff, I'm just like going, okay.
You're lost.
Yeah, I'm just like,
Okay, it starts out with actually Goku. He ends up getting sent to Earth. They talk about it in the Broly movie at the beginning by his dad because his dad, Bardock, fears that Frieza is basically going to kill all the Saiyans.
yeah,
But when they did the Bardock movie back in the 90s, he sent him there because the Saiyans were doing their job and they took out a planet so that way they could sell it because that's kind of what they were, the planet realtors of the universe.
yeah,
But they worked for Frieza. But what you find out in the new movie is actually Broly, and this is also part of the Bardock series, partially, and part of the Broly movies back in the 90s, which was Mythos. It wasn't actually part of the canon. But he's stronger than Vegeta, and the King Vegeta, instead of Prince Vegeta, which is the Vegeta everybody knows in Dragon Ball Z, his dad found out that Broly was more powerful and had more potential
So
with the readings.
So who is Broly though? Like as far as relationship goes, and like
He's the well. That's what I'm getting to.
okay,
The king
I'll stop talking.
saw that he had greater potential. Nobody can have greater potential than my son because he's royalty. So he basically ships him off to another planet or tries to get him, kill him, in the original. And his dad tries to save him in the original, and in the new one that has become canon, his dad just chases him down to wherever the king sent him to a planet off in the middle of fucking BFE,
Yeah.
the universe. So no, we'll just throw him there, and if he dies, he dies.
Oof.
Yeah, but they end up finding him in the original Mythos. It was Vegeta, Goku, Trunks, Gohan, and all the crew from DBZ
I'm
found him
recognizing those
after
names.
the Cell games.
Yeah, I'm recognizing those names.
Yeah, they ran into him while I don't even remember how, but they found him or the Saiyans that the guy had brought with him while trying to save Broly
Mhm.
when Frieza was destroying the planet Vegeta. Ended up becoming his crew, and they have the ship in the original Mythos that was never canon.
Mhm.
And because he was in the bed next to Goku and Goku always cried whenever he hears Goku saying name Kakarot, he goes straight into Berserker mode. That little, and that's what shows Berserker mode. In the new one, he was never around. It's just something that he gets. That's part of his bloodline, part of his something he taps into. But his Berserker mode is basically, I'm not here. I'm pissed, or I'm almost dead. So full power, kill everything.
Yeah. Okay. So he's kind of like the wild one in the grand scheme of things when it comes to all the other characters. He's kind of
Yeah.
like the guy that's
He has
sort
the
of there.
natural talent with the Berserker mode to be as powerful as anything you throw at him because he auto learns while he's fighting.
Okay, so he's kind of like I wouldn't say Doomsday, but he's kind of like in comparison to like DC. He's kind of like trying to think of the character name the character that I'm thinking of. Trying to think of the name of them, but thinking of as far as power set goes, what you just said, where like he learns as he's fighting. It makes me think of the Exile, which is
Well-
from Star Wars KOTOR 2.
Okay, yeah, no, I know that one, but
But that one
Doomsday
steals
would be
that
a
one steals
good
power as he's
example
fighting
too,
people.
because Doomsday was basically a Kryptonian
It's a Kryptonian experiment gone wrong.
yeah, and
And
he's
so-
not the experiment; he was just born that way.
Right. So
So
Doomsday,
it's the same thing, but
Doomsday-
it's different than the rest of the Saiyans. So
but every time
he's the oddball out.
every time Doomsday dies, though, the way that killed him off, he becomes invulnerable to it. So
Yeah.
that's the major difference between Doomsday and Brawley, apparently.
Yeah,
It's
he's
really
not
just sort of
indestructible, but he basically is because there's no way to really turn him off except for to like electrocute him. Because in the new canon thing, just like in the old Mythos, his dad had an electrocutor.
Yeah.
But in the new one, the canon one, the two people from the Frieza Force, basically the people who work for Frieza,
Yeah.
when he was resurrected in the new Dragon Ball Super, basically find Broly in the middle of BFE with his dad, and he has an electrocutor, so that way he doesn't go into full berserker. He can control him. No, just and it
Yeah.
stops him because of the what it does to your body when you get electrocuted.
Oh,
But
just
yeah,
like
and
that.
he had kind of the same thing in the old Mythos, but it was a little different.
Yeah.
Because in the old Mythos with that necklace,
Yeah, the necklace with like right there, like right
yeah,
on the screen.
that
Like
one.
you're pointing. Where's my hand going? Hi.
Yeah, but that's the point. That was where he got electrocuted, and they have a
I feel like
new
I'm doing
one.
a Coco Melon right now. It's
Right?
right there. Where is it? It's right there.
Yeah, but the new one, it's kind of the same thing. He has a necklace, which had an automated electric to do the same thing. But in the original, he just ended up ignoring it because he got so far into the berserker mode, it didn't affect him. On the new one, it still affected him, but the chick that has a thing for Brawly basically stole it from his dad, pickpocketed him, and broke it.
Okay, so he's got a love life.
Well, yes and no, because we haven't gone into any of that in the new canon. I don't think they've hit that in the manga yet or gone to that, because at the end of the Brawly movie, Goku's like, "No, I'd actually like to spar with you. Here's this to help you out, so that way you're not starving and whatnot." Finds him because Goku, between when he gets Super Saiyan and Namek is destroyed, and when he comes back, learns instant transmission, so he just basically honed into Broly's energy, and at the end of the movie, zaps to where there he is. Okay, and then he disappears.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, you guys just got a giant injection of like Dragon Ball Z knowledge. Now, if you guys already knew all that, that's awesome. That way you can just fan out with him, like because your guys aren't.
Well, you asked.
So you guys can fangasm with him while he's talking about it. But if you don't already know that, you just learned some shit. Like you just got some fucking knowledge to go in that brainium of yours. I guess I just called it a brainium and not a cranium. So no, I did ask. I wanted to know. I was like, who the fuck is this guy that's fighting Superman, and why should I care? But like, yeah. So that's part of. See, when I was talking about like 30 minutes ago, I was talking about content creation, like it's creating stories and stuff. Part of it is figuring out like who these characters are, and when you're just like, oh yeah, he's just a rage monster, he just goes up and fights things. The reason why the Hulk is so interesting as a character, at least to me, is that he's got that I want to be a decent person and I want to be, this scientist, because that's what I started out as. I was Bruce Banner, the scientist who was trying to cure disease and cure things, and I was working in radiation because I was trying to learn how to cure cancer and cure all these other different diseases. And then the radiation went wrong, the gamma rays went wrong, and turned him into Hulk. And so therefore his love life with Betty, his love life in general, just went gone. Every time that he goes into Hulk Rage Monster, her daddy-o hates him, can't stand him, and so he's got that love life that he can't seem to have, and he's got that whole like sufferer's complex, like survivor's complex, in which he survives just about everything he goes up against, but everybody else around him tends to die. And so he's got that hero's complex as well. And that's part of what makes him so interesting as a character. And so when you're creating a character that's like nearly unstoppable, you have to stop a unstoppable force with an immovable object. And the immovable object in Hulk's world is love. The immovable object is the lack of being able to love, lack of being able to be a human being, lack of being able to be a normal Bruce Banner. And then what you have is this unending fight, internal fight, war between man and beast, because you have Hulk, who's like puny Banner, and then you got Banner, who's like monster Hulk, and so you've got like this giant war of Jekyll and Hyde, in which Hulk is constantly like he's got this whole duality thing going on where the Bruce Banner starts and then Bruce Banner ends with Hulk. And so you have like where the things connect, and they captured that in the MCU. They captured that in Infinity War and Endgame, and then they also captured that in Thor Ragnarok a lot. Like they touched on it in the Incredible Hulk, But the Incredible Hulk was about Bruce trying to master control over his chi. And so later on, they finally got to it in Avengers, and then they touched more on it in the future movies. And so they did touch on that, and then eventually becomes Professor Hulk. But like that's the thing. The reason why I was talking about Hulk a lot is because Brawly here apparently is like a Dragon Ball Z's answer to Hulk, except for different.
Equivalent, yeah.
And so what I'm trying to get at here is that when it comes to content creation and story creation, which will actually help you with your cyborg, is figuring out like what makes the cyborg tick, like what gets him going or her or whatever, like what gets them going, what do they believe in, who are they, what's their conflict, do they have a conflict, is it more external or is it internal? Internals are always usually fascinating to the reader because the reader themselves are dealing with the internal conflict themselves, and so they can humanize or understand. And so technically, the character's being humanized by the reader. They're not necessarily being humanized by you per se. They're being humanized by the reader. Me, what I did with Violus, for instance, one of my characters in the story, is he is kind of like the rebellious vampire who is asking the question of, can you redeem a monster? And in a lot of his life, he's got his dad, who is a rapist of his sister, and is a gangster mogul. So it's kind of like bringing in a bit of the Godfather and a bit of those mob stories into this demon world. His dad's a drug mogul and is in business with Crash and in business with Murdrin, who is the demon guy that's inside Orpheus in his head. And so he's kind of like got that mild possession thing going on, which was what leads to the stuff that happens to Miles' sister. And so the storyline that's going on with Violus, the interplay in his head is, am I a monster? Am I just like my father? Am I my father? Am I destined to become my father when I get older? And it's playing on the idea of like we eventually become our parents. It's playing on the idea of like we eventually grow up to either become our parents or try to become better than our parents. And then we end up having just enough hubris to believe that we're just different enough to narrowly avoid becoming just like our parents or becoming better than them. Like we have that hubris, that stubborn hubris that tells us, "Oh yeah, we're so much better than them." And then we end up replicating them, or we end up copying them, or we end up finding out that we're doing things very similarly to them. But then we tell ourselves and convince ourselves we're different enough. And so Violus was my way of being like, let's explore just how different Violus is going to be from Orpheus. Let's figure out, like, in this situation, would Violus do it this way, or would Orpheus do it this way? And so I had that going on in my head when I was creating him. But in the story of Violus, he's believing that it's all Violus. It's all him. Which technically his name in the story is actually Jeremiah, by the way.
Yeah.
But by the end of the first chapter, by his first chapter, which is chapter 5, or no, 4, by the end of that chapter, he ends up killing someone who he believes is a criminal, and it haunts him, and he ends up creating this Violus personality. And so in the story is about him learning about what makes a monster, and figuring out if by the end of the story, which I won't spoil anything else, but by the end of the story, it's about figuring out just what makes a monster a monster. And that's a question I ask because the very first paragraph, the very beginning of the story, the very first chapter, very last word in the first paragraph is monsters. And we're dealing with demons, we're dealing with, mogul, criminal people, we're dealing with a fucking psychopathic queen of the fairies, and Sam, one of the other narrators, Peter's cousin. She's a fairy, and her grandmother is obsessed with fairy purity. So we're answering the question of, can you redeem a monster? Because it's going to be a universal question of, can Alex be redeemed? Is Alex too far? Do we need to just kill off Alex and that solves the problem? What happens when Alex gets what she wants? Does she destroy the entire world? Can they regroup? Like, it's this whole thing of like the balancing of the human heart. And when a lot of your characters are not even fully human, is there a balance to be achieved? Are they truly all monsters? And what's funny is you can also figure out that same universal question in Brawly and in Superman, because Superman's an alien, and yet he works at the Daily Planet as Clark Kent.
Well, that's kind of where the mythos for the new Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball Z, the next part.
Yeah.
Because in the new mythos, one of the Saiyans from the next universe over It's just like Brawly with the Berserker mode,
Yeah.
but she learns how to control it. And that's kind of where it's like, okay. And then they brought in Brawly, so okay, is he going to learn how to control it? Does he want to really control it? And they show that he wants to control it. He
Okay.
basically is like, I'm the Hulk, but I want to be Bruce Banner or Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
I want to be able to control it so that way I can use that unlimited power I have without just being a blind, destroy everything.
Yeah.
It's the same equivalent. That's why I like the new Brawly better than the old one.
So the old Brawly was like, we're just gonna create this rage monster that destroys everything, and then not like give him an ounce of character involvement.
Yeah, basically.
Like he has the emotional range of a teaspoon, just like Hermione tells her on in book 5. He's like, "You have the emotional range of a teaspoon," and Ron's just like, "What are you talking about? Blimey, Hermione."
Yeah. But I mean, it's the same thing. That's why it's like, okay, no, we need to fix that because the last Brawly kind of sucked and everybody knew it. Yes, he's a big badass and he can destroy everything and anything, but there's no real personality to him.
Yeah.
He's just, I will kill everything, I will destroy you all.
Yeah. So
And the new one's like,
go ahead.
yeah, I go there, but I don't want to go there.
Okay.
He knows that's where he's gonna go in the end, but he's like, I don't want to go there. I want to be able to control it, not just black out and try to destroy everything and anything.
Yeah. So you notice how like I only spoiled like the first chapter of Violet? Like you will have to read to figure out what happens after that point, and figure out, was the guy that he killed truly innocent or was he a criminal? Like that's another thing I play on, because like in most stories when it comes to criminals, monsters, and things like that, when you're trying to define the line between good and evil, and when you're trying to figure out like what in this world, what makes a hero or makes a villain a villain. And so in most stories, it's just done and done. Kills the guy, it's over, done. In my story, I was like, was he truly a bad guy, or was he a good guy?
Who
Does
just
he have,
ended up killing somebody worse.
yeah? Is he got family? Like that's the thing I wanted to think about, was I was like, does this guy have a family? And if we're dealing with gangsters here, we're dealing with mobsters and moguls and things like that. Is the guy connected? And in the story, in that particular chapter, he's the guy in red. Like that's what Viles is looking for. He's looking for the guy in red. And you know, he, in the picture file, the way that Orpheus frames the guy's file, is that he's clearly a bad guy and he's been involved in trafficking and other things, and so obviously he's bad, right? Question mark, right? And so it leads you to think, you know, is everything as it seems, or is there something beneath the surface? Something that is brewing that we don't know yet. And it plays on, there's like a subtext there that I'm playing on with society, on the fact that every time we hear anything in the news, we hear anything on media, we hear anything when it comes to important, you know, politicians or important people that we're told are important via the news and stuff like that, or whether it has to do with like billionaires or moguls or people that rise in power, or they have like their fall from grace, that sort of thing. Um, they they always, like, there's always something we always find out something that's beneath the surface that was buried, or that wasn't dug up, or wasn't peeled up. And so when I write anything, I like to dig behind those layers. I like to like take like a scalpel and surgically remove the fat and like the other stuff that's blocking it, to figure out like, where's the gears? How does this heart move? Like, what is going on here? And then I try to figure out, you know, where are we gonna go? Like, what's next? What do we go from here? And what did this character just deal with? And that's the thing that's part of my process. I was talking about that before. I was like, I'm gonna go into the process a bit. Talk about the balance of the human heart. I talk about the hero's journey, and in my story, it's more the anti-hero's journey, because they're not really heroes. Like, we call them heroes because they're protagonists, but they're more anti-heroes because they're not like rushing out to save people. Like, they're not. Like, Vilas is more concerned about saving his family and his friends. Peter's more concerned about, you know, making sure that Virema's okay, her other friend, the protagonist. They're all very concerned about saving her twin sister who's stuck in a tablet. But they don't exactly go around patrolling the streets looking for innocents to save, or they don't go around looking for people that are in trouble. The only one that really does, you know, if you really think about it, is Sam. And technically, I'm gonna be giving her a serial rapist killer storyline in one of my novellas, where it's called
Oh, yeah.
called Mistress of the Damned, in which she is going to be wrestling even more with her mental stability. And I already said that her grandmother is basically insane, kind of a psycho, and so I am dealing with the fact.
stability's
Yeah.
overrated.
Well, I'm dealing with the fact that this character has inherited in her gene, like her genes, she's inherited the instability, and that comes from her dad. And what's funny is her dad's not even like genetically related to her grandmother. It's just something that's on both sides of the family. So she's really just fucked. And so, so she's gonna be dealing with that instability going throughout the storyline, and dealing with the fact of, is Sam gonna literally lose herself to her own darkness, or is she gonna be able to persevere? Can she survive? Like, is she a victim or is she a survivor? And not even a victim to everybody around her. Not even a victim to Abraxan, one of the big bad guys of the story. Is she a victim to herself? Will her trauma overcome her? And that's something that I ask in the story. And when I think of terms of heroes, I'm like, Orion. When Orion's not going around with Peter and those guys chasing down demons, what is he doing? He's just working in a convenience store. So the only real character that I can think of that's really superhero-y is Sam. Billy.
Okay.
That's it. Like, that's the one that goes out and tries to actively stop things. Like, there was a scene where she was walking out in the streets and she's being, someone in the passerby is saying, "Hey, Sammy," and she's like, "Hi," and she's like royalty, but she fucking can't stand it, so she tries to ignore any of the royal addresses or anything like that. She goes around. It's like she's a disgrace to her grandmother because she doesn't wear anything that dignifies and says, "I'm a princess." She like walks around and she looks like her fucking friends who are slaves, or her other friends who are not royalty. And so,
Commoners.
yeah, and so she looks like a commoner. And so she's dirty, her hair's kind of fucked up, and she's like, normal, regular human being, except for she's a fairy. And so she's walking around like a regular commoner, and she's insulting her mother every time she's around her, because her mother's just like, "You look like a commoner."
Did you
And
kind of get that from Suki?
no, I did
Okay.
not. No, I just simply gave that to her. I was like, this is how she would be. I
You
actually
know what character I'm talking
probably
about,
drew
right?
that actually from Game of Thrones, from Arya. What are you talking about?
True Blood.
Oh, True Blood.
Suki's like royalty and didn't know it.
Oh. No, I did not get it from Suki or Suki or whatever the fuck you call her. I like that show, by the way.
Southern bitch who likes to bang.
That's
Shut
another
up.
that's another take on vampires that I enjoyed. It's another take on
That was
werewolves.
a good series.
I liked True Blood a lot. Like, I did. I kind of, the second and third season kind of grated on my nerves a little bit with some of the formulaic storytelling and some of the
Some
directions
of
they
the
went.
BS they pulled you.
But like, overall, that was a series I enjoyed. But no, I did not get that from there. I actually, if I drew that from anywhere at all, it was probably Game of Thrones, because of Arya and because of some of the other characters that are royalty, and they just like literally they're like being told by everybody around them, "No, you're supposed to do this. No, you're supposed to do quilting. No, you're supposed to learn things from the old Nan's tales. Old Nan's tales say you're not supposed to do this." And now Arya's just like, "Fuck you." And so she spends most time
that's
trying
why I
to
asked
become an
because
assassin.
you're talking about the fairy and the royalty. So my thought was because Suki in True Blood was a fairy royalty, and when she found
Nah,
out,
I
was
didn't
talking to the fairies,
Get that
it's
from
that
there. Nah.
you don't do anything, and you're banging vampires. You're not supposed to do that.
No, it's funny that it does become a subtext in the second book, especially. I mean, I'm going to be going more into.
Well, no, I mean, 'cause
Fairy-
you brought it up. That's
yeah,
the first thing
well,
that popped into my head
I
because
get
that's the
that too.
series that
Yeah.
that clicks for me for the fairies being like regular humans and looking like regular humans. Is like,
Yeah, so that's an ironic part, actually, is the fact that Sam was the one that I originally pictured being like this surly teenager who's like doesn't have any interest in helping anybody at all, because like
Okay.
she's got her Alex and she's got all these other things. But I figured it was a great way of being able to show how different she was, and just how much of a fighting chance she had of trying to fight her own instability, if the thing that she's looking for, the thing that she's trying to do in her life, is not run a convenience store, not be a princess, not do any of the demon searching or anything like that, because her dad's already a demon, but she has no priority over, figuring out her linealogy. No, for
Okay.
her, it's, chicks are being, assaulted in my kingdom, and the people that are high up in power are abusing their power. So I don't want to really be in power, even though that would probably be the smartest option for me. But I'm not smart. Instead, I am this rebel person who just wants to be one of my with one of my friends because they're the most comfortable people to talk to, and so she goes around the kingdom. She's literally trying to do the very thing that her superpower is to generate radioactivity energy and blow people up. Like her power is literally to destroy. And so in the story, she's trying to create, like she's trying to find a way to heal. And so
Flip flop.
and so
Okay.
yeah, so I invert the entire whole process of her character. I have this character who's trying to fight her instability, and who's trying to not be like her grandmother, and trying to not destroy things by saving. And so there's several times where throughout the story she's walking throughout the kingdom, and now they've got the main story beats. But every time, but her main priority was to save the people that are being assaulted, was to save people. And so
Okay.
she's the most superhero-y of the entire group, and yet she's the one that's directly beneath the villain, like one of the big villains. She's
Okay,
directly beneath
alright.
the villain. So there's like this massive subtext of like hierarchy, power, what you do with it, who she is, whether she'll be a villain, can you redeem a monster? Does she see herself becoming a monster? Like that sort of thing. So you've got like this whole subtext, and it felt like a great parallel to be like, Alex is trying to rule the world. Alex is trying to make everything super pure, but she's not. She's actually doing the opposite. She's actually in massive opposition of her grandmother, and she hates her for it. Like they both hate each other. They can't stand each other because she's an embarrassment to the fairy ideology because she's not pure. Because Sam is half demon, half fairy, and so she is purely driven to stop impurity of like rule and like power, and she's there to try to keep things from going bad, but yet she doesn't want to be in politics at all. Her mom's in politics, kind of. Her dad's kind of like the redhead stepchild because whenever he tries to speak, because it's a very female driven hierarchy when it comes to politics, her dad's like uh and then he looks over and sees Alex, and Alex is like bristling just because the man's talking, and he's just like, "Arr!" And then like just cuts into the background, and then you got Michael, Sam's brother, who's just like, I know, Dad, I know. And then you got Alex, who's just like, we're gonna do this, and then you got like Ariana, who is one of the family friends, who's actually underneath Michaela. Michaela is the high priestess, the highest, in stature, and Alex feels like Michaela stole that from her. So you've got like that whole parallel battle between those two. And so Sam is technically more like Michaela than she is like her own grandmother. So she's technically an embarrassment. And then you got Michaela, who is letting all the stuff go on and letting all the crap go on. Sam's trying to stop. So they're kind of like in opposition of each other without being bad guys. And so you've got like this imbalance in power. You've got this imbalance in power structure. And that's part of what leads to the giant blow up, the giant chasm that creates the whole plot of the whole novel. Is like that when it happens when
So am I turning your life into your book because you didn't want to get into politics, but I do, just to try to help fix the system, even though I'm not a politician, so I'm dragging you in whether you want to be or not?
I mean, I guess if you want to look at that subtext, no,
Oh, I just saw it right there, so I figured I'd bring that up.
I mean, yeah, I have like my only major priority aside from taking care of the kids and taking care of Amber and like making sure everything's good because I'm a provider is to create and to tell stories clearly, obviously, and it's the most you've heard me talk about anything in this podcast. Is clearly to talk story and stuff.
Uh-huh.
But at the same time, I understand that the only way you're going to make anything in this world, or make anything change in this world, or make anything better, is if you go for office, and then or if you bug the people that are already in office. And being a writer and being the guy who has control issues and being the guy that can create giant complex systems, it would make sense for me to try to create some form of legislation or at least advise on the legislation creation. Because when it comes to lieutenant governor, from what I understand, they don't necessarily create legislation, they guide it. And so I'd be the guider, which would make sense. That's what I'm doing to you, guiding you.
You're
And
my in between.
yeah, like
I didn't understand.
you have
this.
like this giant
Does
game
it say-
plan, which is why I've been probing your fucking brain last episode for your game plan. But you have this game plan, or you have this roadmap of what you want to do, your goals, and me, I'm just like, wait, stage left. Wait, stage right.
Well, that's why I've been also. Whenever we talk to Nico or your dad, I throw in a few things. And they're like, "No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
We need somebody like you in office." I'm like, "Good." I'm not by myself just saying put me in office. It's like, no, we need somebody like you in office. It's like, okay, I'm not just speaking out my ass.
I hope that everything I've been talking about when it comes to storytelling has been entertaining for you guys. I hope that you guys have been enjoying
Oh,
it.
yeah, I hope so
'Cause, like-
too, because I've been over talking a couple episodes and I know it.
Like, I hope that everything I've been talking about is in entertaining in some way or enjoying it. You guys are enjoying it because I'm also trying to practice becoming more outward about how I communicate. I need to move over a little bit because the camera's perfect right here, but down here it's like cut off to where you only see half a
Well, that's
hand.
why I was
but-
hoping that we'd figure out a way to do the green screen on there,
Yeah.
but it's not quite big enough, and we've been talking about extending it a hair
hmm
to try to fix it.
Well, now
so,
we got more money from like the stimulus. I can try to put some investment in the green screen to extending it or getting a bigger green screen.
Well, I don't want to. I just want to extend the one of the rods.
Yeah.
Because I know PVC is cheap. I mean, it's a metal rod, but I know you got the extender or connector. You need to connect these two PVC, and if we get the right size, it's just hook, drop, slide it over this way, and then if we can use that for freaking like camera instead of, no offense, Amber's, the one you bought for Amber, so that way it's right there because it gets a wider view.
Yeah.
And if we have it hooked into the computer, we can do the green screen through this, but then it also does it on that, and I can just, okay, we have it all set up on there, start. So that way we get the same with the recording and with the live stream.
Yeah. So that would be some ideas to do. If you guys have any ideas, you guys know anything about production, let us know.
Yeah, give us some advice.
You guys can either do it now in the comments or when you guys rewatch this episode for the 70th time, hopefully. You guys will see it. You guys can leave comments and he'll know. Or you can go onto my YouTube channel where it'll be posted there, or his YouTube channel. You can post them either way. Wherever you want to put them. But yeah, one of the things I'm going to be covering in the story as well that I touched on a little bit is there's going to be elements of psychological horror in the story. Because there's going to be Virima and her tale of, because she's not, Sam's not the only one dealing with this. In fact, there's like a little gang of girls in the story that deal with the same thing. They
Mean
deal
Girls?
with the big R, the big
Oh,
R
okay.
word. They deal with that, and there was one scene in chapter 3. I don't know if you've run into it yet, where
No,
they're all
not
talking. They're all talking in the hospital wing. It's funny, I borrowed that from Harry Potter. They're all talking in the hospital wing, and it just made it different. But they're all talking in the hospital wing of the kingdom, and you got Ariana, you got Destin, then you got Sam, and they're all talking and stuff, and they all dealt with the hard R. They all dealt with that action, the devastating thing that a lot of women, that men deal with it too, but a lot of women deal with it. And not once do I use that word, not once. It's in the subtext, like it's clear what they dealt with, but yet I don't name it. And I found that one of the most intriguing scenes that I ever wrote in the entire story, purely for the simple fact.
Figuring out how to put it in there without saying it straight out, or
No, it was
okay.
it was intriguing for me because it's like, you know what it is. Like,
yeah.
there's literally 2 sentences that I put in there where Sam reflects on her time in the academy that her grandmother shoved her into, and the quartermaster who wanted to play games with her, and I put quotes like those single quotes around games, so you could be like, oh, they're not just games. But like she talks about the games, and she talks about them in such a negative context, you know what it is. And where she blacks out, like she talked about blacking out and then waking up again with his blood and his guts just covering the wall, which means that she exploded his ass, which means that she combusted. She just like, he was doing stuff with her that is deemed uncomfortable, and boom, he died. And so, and she didn't want to kill him. She just wanted to stop him. And so, like, it's clear what's going on.
You have to do to
And so she's got that internal grief going on. And so all 3 of the girls in this particular scene are dealing with the same universal pain. And that's part of what was so intriguing to me. Is I was reading through the scene. I read it out loud to myself, and I was like, this scene's powerful as fuck. And this is just chapter 3. I was like, oh my god.
It's one of those things that not a lot of females talk about, and by the time they talk about it, it's way past due
it's
be
not
able
even
to do anything about it.
There's not even a single male in the scene either. It's just females, and the females are sharing the same pain, the same thing. And so it was me basically.
I know a lot of women who
being
have
like,
had that sort of situation.
Yeah.
And 90% of them don't talk about it till they're like way older and have gotten past that, or use it as no, I'm not gonna let that happen again, sort of thing.
There was a duality to it too. It
Yeah,
was
most
it
definitely.
was they were all talking about it, but also so it was kind of therapeutic in a sense. And Sam had just watched someone die, so she gains a hero complex at
Okay.
that point, like a solidified hero complex of like she's too slow to stop the guy from dying, and she's watching as he's literally bargaining for death, like bargaining away from death, like he's literally bartering with death and being like, "Please save me." Like he's literally begging her to save him, and she's too slow. Her wings are too slow to stop the death, and so he dies right in front of her, and she watches it happen. So she's already haunted by that. And then there's like that scene where they're all talking about this thing, and not only are they sharing this thing together, but there's a beauty to it because they're talking about this horrifying thing, but at the same time they're united by the pain. They're united by the trauma. And so there was a beauty to it. And so that was part of what gripped me so hard. I was like reading that right in the scene. I was like, I read through it like 3 times. It was like 4 in the morning. I was like, I wrote this shit? Just like, what the fuck? Like, I felt like something possessed me or something. But I was like, holy shit, like, I wrote this? And like, for a lot of times when I write these scenes, I'm not really writing them, I'm guiding them. I'm like going, okay, this is what this character wants to say. This is what they have to say right now. Like, in this particular scene, they're trying to express this thing. And
Okay.
whether that thing is, whether it's emotion of like happiness, peace, like this character is searching for this thing, and so they get to express this thing and whatever that thing is, and the thing literally just can mean anything. Like it can mean pain, sorrow, happiness, death, like grief, remorse.
Mhm.
I basically take a universal human emotion and put that as the feeling that is going to be explored in that particular scene. And sure, there's going to be sub feelings like happiness or peace or strife or internal trauma or whatever,
Uh-huh.
but there's going to be one universal emotion that's right there. Have you seen the movie Inside Out?
Yes.
Do you remember how, like, in a lot of the scenes, if you dissected and analyzed it, you could tell that each one of the scenes had a universal emotion?
Oh yeah.
And like that one scene, there was quite a few scenes where sadness was mirrored with excitement or happiness, like
Mhm.
the joyful one. And so they put them together a lot because they were two opposites, and they were like literally like a mirrored image of each other. And that
Oh
was
yeah.
something I
No,
did.
that makes sense to me because I'm sad that we moved, but that's a happy memory. Yes, it's happy, but at the same time, it's sad. That's why I like the end of the movie. Or no, it can be both people.
Yeah, and so a lot of times what I would do is I would put both in. I would find a way to put two extremes together and then balance it out. And
Oh yeah.
by the end of the story, by the end of the book,
Sorry for the yawning.
I'm not gonna tell you what happens in the book because plot is literally just this happened. That's literally what plot is. It's this happens, then this happens, then this happens. People forget that they think that the plot is like the characters themselves, or like the talking, or like the description,
Yeah,
or the setting, or anything else that's going on. Plotting is literally this happened. You know how you like in your daily type routines, you're like, I went to work, I put gas in the car, I paid the bill. Those are plot. Those are I did this thing. Action. I am the noun. The adjective is like, you know, a version of a verb, like a descriptive verb. It's not a noun, but a descriptive verb. Um, the action, I did this verb, but plotting is literally just a bunch of actions done. And so by the end of the story, what I did was I made it to where the surrounding universal feeling in the scene was a combination of serenity and fear. You know what serenity is, right?
Mhm.
What's serenity?
You want me to describe it?
Yeah, like tell me what your take on serenity is.
Um. How do I put that? I don't know. It's hard to describe the way my mind processes it because serenity would be such a high level of joy that it's undescribable at the time. It's only describable after the fact. I didn't even realize I got to that level of happy where it's the happiest thing I've ever done or it's the happiest moment I've ever felt in my life.
Okay. So
That's what pops into my head when you say that word.
I mixed the extreme forms of both at the end.
Okay.
What I did was I had it to where our heroes are about ready to go into the next thing, the world's about ready to die. They're trying to stop it from dying. The villain just did this thing. They did this thing to the villain, and then it ends on such a bittersweet ending because the villain gets what they want, but the heroes also get what they need.
Okay.
And so it's got this feeling of serenity, but this feeling of horror, of just absolute fucking horror. Because what's about to happen is going to reverberate throughout the next 3 novels. What's about to happen is going to affect our world, and it's going to be such world changing, such dynamic shifting of how everybody's going to be feeling and how everybody's going to be acting, that they're going to be like, do you remember that time when that thing happened, like that entire event? And they're going to be like, yeah. And then they're going to think that was actually better than what they're dealing with now. Like that's what it is. It's that current moment, that thing sounds so horrifying and so terrible, but in hindsight, when they deal with the next things, they're gonna be like, that was fucking small. I wish we went back to that. Can we go back to that time? Like that's what they're gonna think. I don't know what the hell happened to the camera. It's not frozen.
It just went super saturated.
Yeah, it was like for 5 seconds it went. But no, it's still going.
Bleeding out of nowhere.
Yeah. Everything burns. Just kidding. That's the subtitle of the first novel, by the way. It's called Crimson Nightfall, and then the subtitle is Everything Burns. But like, that's pretty much what I did with the very end of the story.
Or relatives swinging by and saying, "Hi."
Yeah, might have been my mom being like, "Hey, buddy, I'm right here."
They like to do that when we're recording. It's like, "Hi." They don't see me. Okay, I know what to do.
Yeah, she probably got excited because I was talking about the stories. But like, so the sequel novels are going to be directly affected by the ending of that book. And the reason why I'm telling you that, like, the reason I'm not going into, like, what happened
Too much detail.
is because you're going to end up reading it, maybe eventually. But I'm going into, like, the process behind it, because I don't even focus on what's happening in the story. I focus on the background stuff. I focus on what do they feel? Like, at the end of the day, what are they feeling? Like,
okay.
What are they feeling? Where are we going, and what is the next emotion we're going to feel, and how is that shifting what they're doing? Because we are directly shaped by our emotions.
Almost definitely.
We are dynamically shifting based on our emotions, not necessarily the things that we're dealing with at the time. Because
every day, yeah.
Yeah, when Mom passed away, I was horrified by that, and there was natural human reaction to your parent disappearing. At least from the mortal world. Their body was still there, but they were not. Whereas, like, the emotion I felt, indescribable. It was, like, you're put into fight or flight mode. Like, and it's, like, this feeling of extreme fear, this feeling of, like, sorrow, this feeling of, like, you don't know what you're going to do with yourself because they're gone now. Yeah. And, like, you saw it being you saw it being the thing that was probably going to happen, even though you were hoping against hope that it was not going to happen. That, you guys are going to bounce back. She was going to go home. Things are going to be okay. She was going to, heal, get better. And then the inevitable happened. And so it's like, that's what I'm capturing with the stories, with the writing. That's what I'm capturing is the feeling, not what is happening.
Because it's emotional.
Yes, it's the why. It's why are we trying to stop this? Why do we care? So in that the thing that I was hoping would get you to read the book and get you to read the beginning was, did I insert a why? Did I insert a why good enough? Did I insert a why? Did I insert a care? Like, for instance, you wanted to go into politics. Why? Because you want to change the system. Why? Because we all know it's fucked up. Why? Because it makes me pissed off and angry. And it makes me feel something. And so our goals, our ideals, ideologies, are everything we deal with on a daily basis, whether it's in relationship with someone that we know, whether it's in relationship to our goals or what we want to do. It makes us feel something. Okay. What do we feel? See, a lot of times we are directly afraid of sociopaths, for instance, or at least some people are afraid of sociopaths because sociopaths don't feel anything. Often.
But see, there's the bad part. You're a sociopath because you don't feel emotions. No, it's... Which kind of brings up...
You have your own point of views, but I'm just saying general gist.
Vampire whole thing thing that I've seen in a few of the series. The one that does it the best, in my opinion, that I've seen here recently was Vampire Diaries
Yeah.
on CW. Because they're like, well, I just turn off my emotions and okay, but then you're killing and doing whatever the hell you want. I'm being the real me because there's no emotions. It's just this is what happens. Kind of like Sam without the soul. No,
Right.
I'm doing it because it needs to be done. There's no
Right.
emotions.
He's doing
there's
the
no nothing.
action.
It's just that's what needs to happen. That's why I was like, why is sociopath bad? Because unless they get some enjoyment from it, they're not gonna do it. It's like no,
Did I say they were bad though?
no. I'm not saying you. I'm saying most stuff that talks about.
I'm making a comparison and talking about how, in general, with our sociology and how our society works,
Yeah.
the constructs of our society is built off the fact that those who don't feel emotion are considered monsters or considered abject terrors in our society. And will lead to something bad happening.
They think
because
they're
we
all
are
gonna
so-
turn into
we are-
serial killers.
So built and so based and so ingrained in our emotions and so in our heads on emotion that the idea of someone not being defined by that is terrifying.
Scary.
It's terrifying. Not just scary, terrifying. Like, and
Well,
people
if
base
you're terrified, you're scared
and
because you're
people-
afraid of what might happen.
right. But what I'm saying is people are terrified by that, and then certain other people define that by their spirituality. And
Yeah.
so they think that talking to some person that's in their spirituality basis will somehow stop that or prevent it, and it won't. It'll just help you deal with it.
There's church.
Yeah. So, yeah, and you've already gotten into your talks on that and what you want
I've
to do.
gone on a few things about that. Yes.
Yeah, I could see you holding yourself back too. I could see it. Like I could see like, your face is getting super tight, and you're like your lips are peeling back, and you're just like trying to stop talking.
Well, it's because I've already talked about it, it's the whole I hate religion because of the way it's all set up, and yeah. I don't like the way the system works, political, and no offense, the way half the religions with names are set up, it's still political.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like it. So it's like, okay, let's just. My idea on how to fix it, and I know that piss off a lot of church people and whatnot, and I know I already have through the years because I say stuff that pisses them off on a freaking weekly or daily basis. It's like, why would you believe that? Because that's how stuff runs.
Yeah.
Shit rolls downhill because of gravity. And guess what? You're at the bottom of the hill because you don't have a title.
Yeah.
I'm not the prophet. I'm not the priest. I'm not the pope. Yeah, and it's like, I'm not the governor. Well, I'm going to try to fix that one, so.
So okay. So let's reorient a little bit. Okay.
Okay.
I've been talking
'Cause
about
I
the
kinda
writing.
went
I've been
off
talking about
sideways.
no. I've been talking about writing. I've been talking about all sorts of stuff for like a good while now. And then you were kind of you're kind of going on about your stuff. Let's do something fun, okay? And when this has all been fun and everything, let's do something more fun. Say that the vaccines they're talking about are happening, and say that people get superpowers.
Oh, did you show him that post that I think I tagged you in? I thought I tagged
Are we
you
about to
in-
cover something you wanted to talk about?
and listen. Well, somebody did a TikTok about, yeah, well, with the new vaccines, because of how much they cost, only a third of the world will get it. Well, in Revelations, it says that the angels are sent down and they take out a third of the world. Yeah, they take out the third of the world that gets the vaccinations. Funny part is, we were talking about it, I think, in the first or second thing of that.
Episode, yeah.
Yeah.
No, this last
'Cause it was
episode we
the
talked about it. We
Death
brought it
of
up.
2020, we were talking about that. Like, yeah, that'll give us the superpowers because that's one of the things they said at the end of the comedy documentary.
Yeah, the comedy mentary where we were talking about because the very end of the comedy mentary they had like a piece of paper and they had them reading off like
Each of
the
the
true
actors, yeah.
the true plan of President Harris. They didn't say Biden. They said President Harris is no one knew that the superpowers they would get after they received the vaccine.
Yeah, we were talking about, yeah, that's going to make us X-Men.
Yeah, we're
And
talking
other
about
stuff.
powers that we'd receive. So say people do receive their powers and everything. let's say that happens. What type of superhero would you be, or what type of supervillain would you be?
I'd be kind of the anti-hero, kind of like Wolverine and Deadpool sort of thing.
Okay.
No, I'm not really a hero, but don't kill people. You're a fucking asshole. Don't be a rapist or don't be a pedophile. You know, you deserve it. You're
Right.
dead.
Okay.
Because no offense, half the time, I mean, growing up in the 80s, half the crap that nobody talked about that actually happened to all of us or happened to 80 to 90% of us that we never talk about.
Okay.
Raped, physically abused, or molested in some way, shape, or form by somebody older than us, same age. You know, that sort of shit. It happened. It didn't come up to talk about it, and you could be honest about it until like mid 90s, late 90s. It's like, I'm not going to talk about that crap. I know it was bad, and that's why I hate that family member or that person, or that's why I'm the evil son of a bitch I am now. You're not evil. You don't know the real me. Funny part is, what most people see as evil, that would be, no, you're the villain because you have superpowers, because you do this. Actually, because I did that, I ended up saving half of the world, including your stupid ass.
Yeah.
Would be me. Dude, see, but you like chaotic neutral D&D. I like straight neutral. No law, no chaotic. No, I am me. I'm going to protect me and the people around me. And I'm going to do it in any goddamn means possible, whether it's with the law or against the law. And that's also why I want, you know, the whole political thing. Yeah, to get the vaccine, which you're not going to get for a while, and half the people that are going to get it instantly are going to be the rich a-holes who can fork out all the money.
Yeah.
Which is basically a third of the world. And if the thing, yeah, Revolution is going to take a third of the world. Yeah, see, no, the funny part is, they're going to take the rich a-holes who got, no. The people who are going to get taken is not the third of the world who got the vaccination. It's the third of the world who are actually pure and, you know, as God sees them, good enough to be taken off the earth because they've actually never screwed anybody, never done anything wrong. But in the world we live in now, I'm sorry, no, that's the third of the world. That's gonna be the ones who are so young, so innocent. They're just gonna be translated and be
So,
gone
The next
from the religious point of view.
So the next thing I was going to ask is, say the
Sorry, I went back
say
on the side.
no, you're good. It's all about learning. We're both learning here. Like I literally took over part of the podcast on accident, just like you do. So
I let you.
you
I
kinda
told
went
you.
back and
I
forth
wanted
and
you
stuff.
to because I
You
kind
said-
of felt like I overran you the last couple times.
yeah, so I took over a little bit on accident, and so that's my bad. But like
You good?
but one of the things I wanted to talk about is, say part of the vaccine was botched, say it was bad, and say it created this giant rip in the universe, and created a bunch of like all these fictional people we talk about, like Brawley, Superman, Joker,
And stuff.
Wolverine, like everybody, Voldemort.
Ugh.
Say like an entire fucking like rip in the universe happened, and all the fictional characters that have ever been created came out. What teams would you assemble? And you being the leader team, one of the leader teams, say you had to assemble a bunch of people together, and say everybody, like the entire world, is going to break it out into chaos. What team would you form and why?
Me, I'd be the. I know it'd be weird because, well, a lot of people think about when they hear the whole, well, I'd be a superhero, I'd be the supervillain. No, I'd be the weirdo who mixes them. Because I like Magneto's point of view on some of his stuff. Like, we don't need to try to blend the regular humans with mutant sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be our own nations, and the ones who fall in, but on his to edit it, the ones who actually are in love that are human and mutants, they get their own nation for the mixed breeds.
Yeah.
So we have humans here, we have mutants here, and we have the mixed breeds here. Shut up. But see,
What did she say? What did she say?
segregation. That's
Oh,
segregation. But I mean, that's no, but we do that anyways.
Down in the background. you're like,
Murderers.
segregation.
She whispered it in the background. No,
She's
but
flipping
it
out
is.
now.
But that's fine. But I mean, that's kind of what we do already because we view this as evil. Okay, you're gonna be put in this pile of idiots in this jail. Okay, the ones who are killers who got paid to do it or whatever your reason is. All right, you're in Max because y'all are super assholes. Oh, well, you just did this. Okay, you're in this group. We already segregate ourselves. We even segregate ourselves by the freaking how much money you make. Rich people live on this side of town. Poor people live on this side of town. Middle live everywhere else.
Okay.
Either you own a house or you don't. That determines on where in the middle ground
But
you
say
are.
all that failed. Say everything you tried to do failed because of how much chaos is breaking out. Like I said, that everybody in all these universes
But see, I would grab like
just like
Wolverine
compile together. Just, whole world's getting ripped to
and
shreds. Everything.
Magneto and like not Professor, Batman because
Okay.
he knows how to kill everybody, but yet he also knows how to let's not do this because I can kill you all.
Well, he's also rich as fuck.
He's an asshole, but he's my type of asshole. But Ra's al Ghul,
Okay.
the well, the version I like of him, because there's a couple different ones. Like Goku, no, I'm gonna teach everybody how to be like this, but at the same time, I want to train, so I'm not really gonna teach everybody. So that ended up going to Gohan.
Yeah.
So I ended up grabbing them both. But I also like Vegeta, so I drag his ass in. Like, nah, dude, you the type of guy like you part of the group. You can have your prince title back because guess what? We're interbreeding, and guess what? Because of this universe's freaking stuff with mixing bloods and basically converting people into like clones of other people's, we end up mixing the Saiyans and like Superman and a few of the other. We end up using the stuff from the multiverse for the ones who have figured out how to mix the bloods
Yeah.
to mix all of us the same blood, so that way everybody in my group, we all have the same superpowers, so we're badass, you can't kill us, and we're in charge. We're done with this left side, right side, gay, straight, bi, what is it?
We'll see in this imaginary world.
Well, it's not the
In this imaginary world.
the bi whatever sexual and the non-binomial
Mm-hmm.
blah blah. It's no, we're all the same. It's like the whole thing with me becoming government. It's no. We don't need money. We're all gonna get what we need monthly.
Okay.
Each person gets so much food. Each person gets so many clothes. Everybody gets a house. We're gonna rip down all these apartments and fix it so everybody has a place.
But you're imagining this world having the same exact structure as our current world now. But if you rip it the whole universe and all these fictional people come into play, all
I'd
that
end
shit's
up
gonna
using
go out the
them
window. All that shit's just
and
gonna
use
blow
their
up and combust.
powers to freaking make it the way I want it, where it's not a fight and it's not the way everybody wants it to be.
You're
It just
assuming-
is.
You're assuming you're gonna be able to control it
Who
all.
says I can't?
The fictional god says so. Fictional god says that no matter what you do, there's gonna be a chaos vacuum, and you're gonna have to assemble a team that will try to keep you guys alive. And so that's why I was asking about the team.
Well, it's not even the team. It's take the freaking genetics, because if it's the rips from all the imaginary worlds, take the genetics, mix them all together, give the people I want, who I like their ideals, or half like their ideals, and take their genetics and end up remaking them into what I want, and I have my team of genetically engineered people. It's no longer Wolverine, Magneto, Professor X. It's grab each of their genetics. Okay, this person has that dominant genetics, but yet they see how to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and they're not going to let their BS hold them back, which is what everybody does. They let their BS hold them back. It's the same thing in most of the fantasy worlds. What's the Professor X doesn't want to be enemies to humans. Magneto does, but if they put their BS to the side and actually work together with the humans or with the mutants, and if ever that's like the world we have now. If everybody put their BS to the side, it's no longer right wing, left wing, Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative, and all that other titles we give. Take away the titles, we're all the same. We're all human. It's not black, white, Indian, Native American, all these different. No, we're all the same race. We all come from the same planet. We are Earthlings.
So assuming that you have the power that you talked about that you wanted last time, you would
To be able
assemble.
to do it,
You would assemble a team. You just haven't necessarily picked the team, but you know what you're gonna do with it.
yeah,
Okay.
to equalize everybody.
Here's my take. Let's say in this world, like no matter what you do, you can't control how the sociologies are because there's so much chaos going on. You've literally taken a rip in the universe and you made it to where Harry Potter, Star Wars, Marvel, DC, all these other worlds. And if we count my book, can we count my book in this world? And Dragon Ball Z and those other
We
shows?
count everything.
Okay,
Anything
so we're counting everything.
fictional,
Anything
even
fictional that
stuff
is
people haven't written
even-
down is a rip.
okay. So
It's
so
the,
say it's something I created, right?
RPG Rift.
Okay, so one of the first people on my team, because remember I had to talk about my power
I
being
know.
telekinesis with healing.
Uh-huh.
I would bring in Doctor Strange
Okay.
because he would have the mastery of the multiverse worlds, right? So
Multiverse, yeah.
he would be able to know who is in and who is out because
Okay.
he's a multiverse guy. Then I would bring in Hulk because he's a scientist, and I'd bring in Crash to work with Hulk.
Okay.
And then I would test my own blood. I would give him a blood sample so that he would know just how far my healing went. And then I also allow him to test on anybody that came into power. I'd have Magneto work with Batman on making sure that the security complex was iron sound. I would try my hardest to keep Iron Man and Magneto from squaring up and killing each other because you know for a fact that Magneto's superiority complex would get in the way of Iron Man. And Iron Man's need to control the entire system, aka with Ultron, and to keep everybody safe, they might actually get along more than I even thought. But in the idea that they're going to fight each other and be at each other's heads, I would put them together to help control that, as well as have Batman help guide that. At the center, I'm going to discuss everything with Batman because he has every single contingency plan nailed down pat. And I would tell him that you cannot go against these superpowered people even if you're afraid of them. Because you deal in absolutes, and if there's even a slight percent chance that anything could go wrong, it will go wrong. So I would tell him not to obsess over it, even if he will, and I would work with him at every instance. But I'd have Crash for my world, work with them on the blood samples to figure out exactly where it's going to go, figure out why the vaccine went wrong in the first place, and I would try to find a way to have everybody help the rest of the people in the world survive. Because assuming I assemble those people, that means I have the entire Infinity War people at my disposal. Because if I've got Iron Man, assuming he's not dead, if I've got Iron Man and I've got...
It's the multiverse.
Yeah.
You just pick them out of whatever universe you want.
Right. So if I got Iron Man and I've got fucking Doctor Strange and I've got fucking Batman and I've got all these other separate side connections at my disposal. And if I'm orienting all of them, I'm going to be able to create a society, and I'm going to tell Magneto that he can't be a douchebag. I'm going to tell Magneto he can't be a douchebag and only make mutants part of it. I'm going to have it to where Magneto really finds a way to align with Charles Xavier and really finds a way to help create this, not necessarily utopia, but this way of preventing this chasm that's going to form within this world. And that's where I would start with my team, is I would create a team of people that are going to be able to test blood samples, be able to test to see what happened with the vaccine. I would tell them, don't fucking give a shit if the government tries to stop us. You know, if the government tries to stop us all, because they will try to stop us, especially if we're dealing with the vaccine and especially if we're dealing with blood samples.
Well, the
They're gonna
government
try
try
to
to stop you because they think you're trying to take over their
Right,
power.
but because we took the vaccine, they'll also have a copy of us anyway. Because they'll have ejected in our system, which means they'll likely have taken a sample of us. So they're going to have us in the system.
Oh,
So
they already have me in the system because I donate plasma.
right, but what I'm saying though is that's what's been going on. Without being a conspiracy theorist, that's just assuming that they have DNA. So I would basically assemble a team that's able to test drive and also able to figure out a way to do back end behind the scenes work to try to find a cure for this virus and keep everything from going wrong. And the team is also in place so just in case everything that can go wrong, that will go wrong, does go wrong, they help me prevent it from getting worse. That's my take. I figured I wanted to hear your take first to be like, what kind of plan would Tim come up with? I guess this is why I'm your lieutenant governor then.
Well, it's
think of all
almost
the
the exact
contingency
same
plans.
plan. We just have different people we pick.
Right.
So,
And you would obviously pick Goku.
no, I'd use him
Who specializes
for
in
a training
things.
buddy. Because with me, with the whole genetics thing, like you're talking about, but it's like, but I want to take it more than just testing it. I want to take it to the next level, as in putting some of that into me, so that way I have his pluses and because I know his minuses. Because no offense, Goku's not a thinker, but he's the meditation guy. We have to train, but we also have to meditate because that's what he got taught back in Dragon Ball, the original series. You have to keep the mix.
We'll see
And they
Magneto's.
kind of made him the dumbass in Super, which was complete bullshit because he's not a dumbass. He's, okay, I want to fight the strongest person to see if I'm that strong.
Right.
But the real Goku is, we need to also do our teachings to build our brains so that way we're not complete idiots. We can still run and function, but we're not overly smart. Like, aha, I'm the smartest asshole in the room, and I'm the strongest because I can fly with my chi, and I have big muscles.
Okay.
He's the literally supposed to be the exact center of everything. A little bit of all. He's done a little bit of meditation, a little bit of learning, but also the physical and the spiritual through the key to figure out himself at his body so that way he knows every point and everything. But with the whole mutants and a few of the other universes I know from reading books and stuff, I'd be able to use their genetic background so that way everybody can have that. So it's not
Right.
I'm the powerful. No, everybody's at the same level. I've ended up making it so that way everybody's the same level. So that way this whole who's the strongest? Let's see who's got the biggest dick by having the biggest rocket. It's like, no, dudes, take out all the BS.
Yeah, because I'm assuming that all the stuff that we have issues with government is going to go away anyway. Or it's going to form into a whole new big problem. So we're going to have to take all the genetics and all the other research that we're doing with our team, the respective teams. We're going to have to put that together to create a far better system anyway.
Yeah.
So we won't just be running for lieutenant governor or governor. We'll be running for a far bigger office at that point because the office is open.
Well, in the DBZ universe, you have the president of the world essentially,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, okay, I like that idea. He got voted into office. They really don't talk about it, but it's basically a what would be considered like a dog-human breed.
Yeah.
He's a dog who stands up and talks, but he's the president of the world. I'm like, I like that thing. You got voted into office. You have so long as your term. They don't talk about it in the cartoon or the manga, but I mean, it's the ideal like
Yeah, it's
presidency.
there.
We pick somebody to run it all, who actually knows how to keep it all decent, so that way we don't have over rich people, over poor people. We're all just equals.
Yeah.
But I mean, you still have the richest people in the world because they're the ones, like with Bulma, her family, the Capsule Corporation, they make all the stuff
So
and
Bulma,
still all
not
the...
Obama.
Huh?
Bulma. Not
Bulma.
Okay, Bulma.
Bulma.
When you said
Vegeta's
Bulma,
wife.
I was like, Obama?
No, Bulma. The
They're
DBZ
two
fans will know.
completely different things. Obama was the past president of America, and Bulma is a blue-haired white chick.
With
I'm
big
just simply
tits.
Yeah.
I'm just simply differentiating
No,
for the
no.
audience.
No, you're good. But the thing is, her dad and the company basically makes these little capsules so that way, I need a house. Click. You toss it down, you get it turns into the house.
Yeah.
They figured out how to take cars, motorcycles, anything you need, and basically turn it into a little capsule like this, 2 inches
Yeah.
tall. And they even sell capsules that do that. That's why they're the richest. But I want to take out the whole sell part. Everybody just gets their basic. Okay, here's a house, food, water. Here's all the shit you need to live. Here. But that won't change.
You had your hand, so I was like,
That's kind of what I wanted, but it's the thing. Everybody gets what they want. Now, if you want to do extra stuff, you got to figure out a way to pay for it or trade for it. But money's not really a thing because we don't need to use the money to get what we need to eat, survive. Everybody just has it.
yeah.
You get your monthly stipend, which is also the whole thing like I was talking about with Amber, because I remember this from history class growing up. Yeah, communism. Everybody gets exactly the same. What you need, da 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 da. Like I'm talking about, but the people in charge said, we're in charge. Fuck you, we get everything, and you fuckers get barely anything.
Yeah.
You're still alive. Shut up. You got your fair share. No. Do it properly so that way everybody gets the exact same amount. Doesn't matter if you're a kid or an adult, you get this much meat, this much bread, this much whatever for the month or for the week.
Yeah.
And everybody gets there. All right, show up at this location between this day and this day, between these times, to get your stuff. We'll have a checklist. We'll check everybody off who's gotten it, so that way they can't come back and get more.
Right.
And as long as we keep the list, it's like, but that's the government. No one everything. Dude, they're so hacked into freaking Windows freaking holes and all the crap. Because the guy I like to watch on Saturday and sometimes during the week, depending on my day, is Barnacles. And he talks about how Windows programs got so many holes that they give to the United States government and all the other governments in the world, so that way all the governments can talk, that they've been spying on us for the last freaking 20, 30 years anyway. So, I mean, I'm sorry, they already know all our crap, so why don't we use that knowledge, actually use it for a way to benefit everybody? And that's the whole thing, like, some of the people, somebody wrote a book, I can't remember this series, but it's like, this guy wants to take religion out. This guy wants to take out money and just make it all the same. I'm like, well, why is that a bad thing? Because if we do it right, and we don't let the system become corrupt, because I'm not going to be corrupted because I know what I want to do, and I'm not going to become, I'm super rich, I can do whatever the fuck I want. No,
What's the book
now?
called?
Oh, I don't remember. It's been fucking forever since I've read
Reference point.
it. It's, this guy, he's from Israel, or that's point of the world, but he basically becomes head of the UN, and we don't need...
Is that a fiction book?
Yeah,
Okay.
about the Antichrist, essentially. What the Revelations
Not
talks
gonna be able
about.
to find this book on Google. I was trying to search it
Well,
up.
I can ask Russell because he used to listen to it on CD.
Okay.
Or I just have to go through the library,
Yeah.
because I've checked out a couple of the books. I just ended up losing, or life ended up getting in the way. I never got to finish
it's
the
not
series.
not that Christian series, the one where everyone just sort of disappears.
No. Well, that does happen in the series,
Okay.
but the guy who ends up trying to unite everybody,
Yeah.
everybody realizes is evil, and a Jew basically says, hey, by the way, guys.
Plot twist.
Well, no, that's like within the first, it's in the first book, and he's like, okay, guys, the Messiah was actually Jesus. He's coming back. We've been dicking around and saying it's not Jesus for this many millennia. Let's quit fucking around and be honest. We know that's actually who it is. We just don't like the Christians, and we want to be the ones in charge, sort of shit.
Yeah.
And he says, this is all the stuff he says about the Messiah, so it is Jesus. But the guy and all the people around him in the story are like, yeah, he's going to say it's you. Because you come from here, you da-da-da, just like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, but see, I don't come from there, so they can't claim, you're the Antichrist. Because see what the hell you just did?
You know what the person who wrote it?
I don't remember his name.
We're not remembering anything about this
it's
book.
been years.
We only know it's in the book. We just don't know what it's called or who it's by. Sorry, guys.
I will try to look up the information so that way that could be the first thing we talk about next week.
Yeah. In next week's episode.
Yeah, right? Talking about how everybody will call me the Antichrist because I'm trying to take away all the money and all the religions and all the names that we've labeled on all the religions, and we all believe in one God and all gods all at the same time.
So you got everything from this book.
No! Actually, I've had this idea before I even knew about the book, and then when the book and listening to it, because I'm a bad reader and I know it, so I like listening to audiobooks. I was listening to him like, okay, y'all are making the guy seem like a bad guy even though he's trying to fix the world. But okay, I see where he's a bad guy because, I'm the asshole in charge. But you need to be the asshole in charge without actually being in charge and having everybody back you, not just, yes, we'll bend at our knees and blow you. It's like, no, that's not what I want. I want to be the guy that everybody's like, no, I agree with you. You have great ideas. Let's actually move this forward and actually fix the system. Because it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah.
And in 90% of the countries, people get taxed worse than they do in America. That's why we're trying to keep our taxes low. But the funny part is, if our taxes were a little bit higher, we'd all be getting supplement packs like Canada. But if our taxes were that high, basically the dollar would be worth less than it is now, even though it ain't worth shit.
So you're trying to suggest that if we raise the taxes, then the
No, I
government
actually
would
want
be-
to lower the taxes
Okay.
and fix the system so that way, basically everybody works.
Okay.
You give your fair share, but you don't get money because you don't need to use money because you're already getting your resources you need.
Okay, but how does that work though?
I said I'm still working that part out. No, I admit I'm still working that part out because it's the what is a fair share? Okay, how much meat does everybody eat? The only part that would piss off, oh, I'm fat. Well, then you have to work extra to get extra meat, or you have to do something extra for extra meat. And
Capitalism?
what the hell? Just hit use sell.
Use cellular data. Sorry guys, we had to do there was a slight thing on the phone.
Slight malfunction with their Wi-Fi.
Moving on. So as far as so that's the first thing that comes to my head is capitalism, more meat, and then you're like socialism. Go live in 5. What the fuck is this phone doing?
I think it ended it. Screw it. Nah, we're done. We lost it. Damn.
We didn't lose anything.
We didn't lose my live stream? Yeah, we did. And now your computer froze.
I did not. Amber,
Right click it,
right click,
properties,
properties.
disconnect, reconnect.
Wait, there's no reconnect or disconnect. Hold on. Video capturing device. Properties. Oh, there it is. Deactivate
Mm-hmm.
and then activate.
There we go.
And we're recording again. Woo!
Yay!
Recording it, just only got the audio. Bada bing, bada boom.
So we'll have to cut that out. You want to try to get back into my Twitch?
Yeah, I was gonna try to do
Double
that.
tap. If you didn't double tap, you gotta double tap the home button. It's a click. With your, just keep your finger on it and just double tap. Okay, close out of mail. Swipe up to the top of the phone with mail. All right, click on Twitch.
Okay.
Click on my icon
Okay.
up in the corner, and go live. Stream IRL in real life. And just hit well, you can change it episode 4.5, 4.5. 0.5. Then hit done and hit start. Or oh yeah, you gotta select category podcast. There you go. Done. We already did that next one down. Podcast. Talk show. Podcast. Yeah. And just hit start.
And we're back.
Sorry about that,
On the other stream.
everybody.
We're still here on this one, but we're here on.
Yeah, on the recording.
We're having a slightly extended session today. Figure we talk about some other stuff other than storytelling and politics and stuff. While still
Well,
talking
we were
about
trying to
politics.
figure out how to do the system. It's like, well, if we determine everybody gets 2 pounds of meat a day
Yeah.
to eat, and you with your family of 5, that's 10 pounds.
Yeah.
Even though you have kids, which means at the end of the week you might have a little bit more meat. But that might help you because then you can do like a big meal, like make lasagna. Amber knows how to make a family lasagna, or at least should. But I mean, you could do a big meal.
Yeah.
And then, do you want ground beef? Do you want steak? You know,
I know how to make a lasagna. That is my recipe.
lasagna is lasagna. If you don't know how to make it, you don't know how to make it. But anywho, I figured if we gave 2 pounds to everybody, you picked your meat. Do you want beef? Do you want lamb? Do you want chicken, fish? What type of fish? You know, figure out all that stuff.
Yeah.
That'll be the options. Okay, do you want canned meat? You know, that sort of stuff. Do you want canned food? Do you want actual fresh meat like you buy at Walmart or any, you know, market store like Smith's, Kent's, Myers, or is it Meyer? Whatever. You know what I'm talking about in Ohio. Excuse me.
I barely know what you're talking about in Ohio.
Well, no, this is the name of the stores. I mean, because you got Walmart, you got Smith's out here, but out in Ohio, it's Kroger's and Meijer
Okay.
are the stores, which are the same thing, and they have Walmart too. So, I mean, but Walmart's everywhere. That's the thing. It's the whole. But you also have mom and pop shops where you go buy groceries.
Yeah.
I mean, and that sort of stuff is everywhere. So that's my thing. It's figuring out how to do it so everybody gets their fair share. You're clicked in for the day or for the week. You pick up your weekly amount, and it's put into the system because everything's connected. So no matter Walmart or wherever you go, and every 6 months to a year, depending on your patterns and your job, or like me with my disability, I get shoes every year to every 6 months.
Yeah.
Because tennis shoes and boots I burn through because how hard I step down, I burn through the soles. So for me, I would have a certain amount of time per year or per, we determine the time frame, and you get your stuff. Like every 6 months, you can have two new shirts, two new pants, a package of underwear, big, like six pairs, and then like the 12 pairs of socks or 6 pairs of socks. Get the same amount of underwear as socks. So that way, you're covered.
Yeah.
And everybody gets that every 6 months to a year, depending on the person, depending on how. Because kids will get it more often because kids grow faster than us adults. Once you hit a certain age, you stop growing.
Mhm.
So it's just by your family genetics because you should know because of your family around you how you're going to grow, when you're going to stop, and all that sort of stuff. It's all proven, and if we figure out more on the genetics where we can just take a genetic test, since they do that anyways, they just don't tell you when you're growing up, we just figure out how to read our DNA code so that way we know how much food you need, how fast you're going to grow, what's approximate size. Okay, you got fat, so you need a bigger shirt this year. Okay, you got skinny, or like me, I get skinny and then I put on muscle, so I end up shrinking in my shirt sizes, and then I end up getting big and needing the size I needed last year, 2X or more.
Mhm.
So I just want to figure all that stuff out because, with the census and whatnot, and with as many organizations that help, like the LDS Church or just regular Christian churches, for like the food banks and the food and the clothing stores, all of this stuff is somewhere in some freaking file somewhere because
Yeah.
everything's kept somewhere on a computer, and somebody's hacked the computer or somebody's hacked the network, and the numbers are out there for every country, every freaking where in the world, and we just figure it all out so that way we don't have to worry about money, because that's the one thing that rips the world apart, other than I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm this, I'm that. Dude, we're humans. Just, what do you want? I want a big house. Do you need a big house? No. Do you know how to run with just a regular size house without having all the extra room? No, because I've never owned a house. Okay, well, let's try in this size. Okay, that doesn't work. Let's try in this size. And for the people who have trouble cleaning, all right, let's teach you a pattern. It's like I kind of did with the kids, trying to help you put them in a pattern. Okay, this is the bedtime. Let's set it. And now they've gotten so used to the pattern, they just go to bed at that time.
Mhm.
And it's not really controlling everybody. It's no. If you need help to figure this stuff out, we'll have people help you so that way you can do it for your family, what works for your family. If you want to be loose and not be so uptight or military about the rules, that's fine. You do that. Each house is different because each family's different, and we're all different the way our viewpoints are.
Yeah.
But it's also the thing, I don't need to get into debt with credit cards and stuff, though. Everybody's debt's gone. All the freaking banks loaning out money that they don't really have, but they do have at the same time. It's this, yeah, no. I don't like it. Because all the money's fake, but all the money's real because you owe people money. I don't owe nobody money because technically I don't own anything, and neither the hell do they. It's just, no, we say we own it, so you're going to give us money. Fuck you, it's mine.
Yeah. Okay.
And the whole BS with, like, you and Nephi having trouble because COVID hit, he couldn't go do his damn driving test like he was supposed to, and now he's kind of screwed because they've upped the prices, but yet they still owe him 1 or 2 tests.
Yeah.
But yet he can't cash that in because half the shit's shut down, or screw you, we say we don't owe you anything, just go over to heaven, kiss my ass. It's like, no.
Yeah.
You still owe him one, a-hole.
Yeah, so...
And it's just like, okay, no, just give him the stupid test. But we don't have to shut up, bring the car to his neighborhood, drive him around a 2-3 block radius, have him drive on the highway. Did he get in an accident? Did he kill anybody? No. Did he stop when he was supposed to stop? Did he do the parts that are in the rule book?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's
Okay,
funny
give
is
him his
I've-
damn fucking license. Quit dicking around and trying to gank him for money.
I've done the driver's test like 3 times, and each time I failed, and each time it was a chick that was there, and I don't
But
know
why
if
did
that
they say you
I don't
failed?
think it had anything to do with the race necessarily or the gender necessarily. I think it more to the fact that the women,
Person?
the people that were doing it, they might have had an issue with me, but that's beside the point.
Well,
I
why
think
did they
part of
say
it,
you failed? You turned too tight, or
because I wasn't doing nonstop head checks. Like I was doing, I would do the head check, and I would do head check, and then I would do head checks a lot, and I would look in the mirror. But there were some times where I would look at the mirror, and then I would do a slight head check, but because they didn't think I was doing a full
'cause you
head
didn't
check.
turn a full freaking.
Yeah, because I didn't turn all the way over here while I was on the wheel. That's
Because
they followed me on.
You're
I looked for blind spots like this, but
well,
I
no,
wasn't
I'm thinking
this.
side view. What's
Right.
the
Side
the
view
word?
mirrors. The
You're-
blind spots.
No. It begins with a P. Your peripherals.
Yeah.
No, you can't see all the way back here. No, dude. I still see my hands. I see my fingers. Not in the camera. I actually see it out the side of my eye while I'm staring at the camera. You can't do that. That's too far back. Don't give me restrictions that you have because your eyesight's shit.
Yeah, that's part of why they failed me. Every time it was
But see,
stuff
the funny
that
part
they
is,
think
They
was.
don't
having
have
issues with.
glasses. 90% of the people who take you on driving tests, but us who have glasses have better peripherals because we have to look outside the glasses also. Your peripherals aren't that good. You can't see all the way this far back. Or I guess I should do it with this hand so they can see. But I mean, they can't because of the picture how far back it is. But you can't see that far back. Bullshit.
Yeah, it was the most minor shit that they failed me on. I did
I had the same issue.
I did the parallel parking perfectly. I did the other stuff perfectly.
Uh-huh.
It was just the small head checks and just the stuff that they were gonna fault me on.
Because they
It was their
over
perception.
attentive it.
Their perception of it was incorrect, but their perception of it was what ruled the test. And so
Yeah,
that's why I
see,
failed.
and it's you can't contest that because shut up, I'm the one who's sitting in the passenger seat.
Right, I can't
But
contest it.
dude,
I tried
I'm
to
sorry.
too. I was like,
You're
hey,
in the passenger seat. Your point of view from my point
I
of view in the
argued it.
driver's seat are two fucking different points of view. You can't tell me I couldn't see that far when I'm actually seeing that far away. How the hell would you know? Because from the passenger seat, you got the freaking door jamb in the way on my door, so you can't see what I can see.
yeah,
I
argued.
completely agree with
What's
you on
funny
that.
is I argued it at the Ogden one because it was the one where I took the test at. I
know
argued
what you're
it,
talking about.
and the dude that was in charge, the manager, the quote unquote manager, the
Supervisor.
guy with the clipboard who was like,
Yeah, no, I know.
Like
I know
the-
what
like
type
the
of
way
guy
that-
you're talking
yeah,
about.
the guy was like, I am the manager, and you're just like, that's nice. But you're sitting there and you're talking to him, and the whole time I'm just like, and I'm not even raising my voice or anything. I'm just like, going, okay, so you're saying that I just spent $35 and change to do a driver's test, and I passed the written test just fine, and each time I passed the written test, each time I passed the fucking written test, it was, I even had to answer different questions. They threw different questions
Right.
at me with the written
Well, they
test.
always do.
So that meant that there was 10 or 20 different questions in there that I
Uh-huh.
still answered correctly on the written test and the retake. And I was like, so you're telling me I have a lot of knowledge with this, but the person that you're doing the examination with, can I get a different examiner? Can I do a retry? And they're like, no, you have to pay an extra money. And so I was like, okay, so what you're telling me is that your whole purpose here is to make me pay extra money each time I take it so you guys can run your revenue banks. And they were telling me I was being difficult. They were like, well, you're not supposed to be difficult with us. I'm like, I'm not being difficult. All I'm doing is asking questions. All I'm doing is challenging your
But they
diagnosis.
don't like people to
And
challenge.
like, and I was literally asking them, I'm like, hey, is there a way that we can redo this, or is there a way that we can do this? And they're like, well, you could schedule another test, and you could pay an extra $35. And I'm like, so you're telling me you're gonna force me to pay extra money to line the governor's pocket, as opposed to letting me, pass the test, or letting me, I didn't pass by a hair. It was like an 87. I needed to get a 90. You got 87 is what I got on the latest test. I was like 3 points away. I was like, you couldn't just pass me, and they were just like, no. And the guy was telling me I was being difficult. He was raising his voice at me. I was raising my voice at him. He was escalating, and he was just like, if you don't stop, I'm gonna need to kick you out of the DMV. And I'm like, I wish I recorded it. Like, I didn't record it. The next time I go to the DMV, I'm gonna take my phone. I'm gonna record the entire thing on audio so that anybody can hear it. But I learned that lesson. I was like, I need to record it.
For you who, no, you can't do that because they do that thing to us, because you gotta turn your head a full freaking 90 degrees to see out here when I'm seeing over here behind your head.
Well, they did the same thing to my dad. Like, they did
it to Nephi, but the thing
Lacey's
is,
kids had the same problem where they would do the
if they're
driver's
gonna
test,
tell
they
you
forced them to wait
that
all
you
day.
can't see that far because their sight perception can't see that far, then that's you restricting me because of your restriction. So, okay. So, which means, because they restricted you, that means that they get to, or the government, or somebody's job to earn their income for their food and housing, which is paid for. Basically, it's not paid for, but it's the way to pay for it. They did their 30, well, I'd say 20 to 30 hour week of helping people would be to drive you to wherever the hell you need to be driven. So me driving you to places that I should drive you because the car issues you're having right now and your license issue would end up being me helping you. So I end up getting my freaking food and housing and food for my kids and my wife sort of stuff because I help you and my sister do the stuff you guys need to do, and mom coming over and helping you guys would basically be her job, and that's how
So you're suggesting
her and Russell eat.
So you're suggesting
she eats.
that people who are helping other people with carpooling and other things should be able to get some sort of like incentive or incentivized system.
Well, that's how they pay for their food. But them taking you places is also helping somebody else because they could take you to go do, like, take you to your job or take you to wherever you need to go so that way you can provide for your family. So that also counts for you getting your stuff because they took you to where you needed to go to either pick up your food for the week or so you could get to work. That helps you to do your job to provide for your family, to earn your credits or whatever to get your food, but they also get their earned credits by helping you get to work so that way you can earn your credits. Everybody's earning credits by helping everybody else. And those who don't know how to cook will be either taught, and that will help that person who's teaching other people how to cook and stuff as their credits for them getting their food and housing and whatnot. And their gas for the car. I want it all to work on the same system. You did this much work. You helped other people. Basically, you stamp or sign that I took you here and we wasted this much time in the drive, or because I went with you into the store to help out.
Right.
We actually time it. It ended up becoming an app because everybody's got an app and everybody's got either a crap phone or a shit or a decent phone. So we get an app that works on all the phones. And you basically fingerprint it or sign it that says I did my part by helping you. So we both end up getting what we need out of it. Did you see my logic there? I help you so it helps me.
Yeah, I kind of do. Don't see that as saying. It's funny.
And we're all helping each other, not
stuff.
expecting to get money or bullshit from it. We just get it because.
What's even funnier is I kind of came up with that years ago with Amber. I was talking to her about that years ago. Like, we're talking like 4 years ago, and I got told that was like Marxism or communism or whatever the fuck.
But see, the funny part is, the bad part about communism is the people who are running the communist countries don't run it properly like communism's supposed to be ran. where everybody does get that. No, I'm rich. I don't have to do shit except for sit on my ass and tell you to work your ass off, and I get all of your shit. Ha ha. You don't get shit except for scraps. Shut up, you're still alive. Which is what I was saying earlier.
$600 stimulus.
That's shit. But from what I've heard from my sources, we're supposed to be getting 2,000 once Biden gets in office. He's gonna push the 2,000 and get all the paperwork he has to sign and whatnot. We'll see. But I mean, if we get anything, you little shit.
That was a fly. That fly was like, I'm gonna interrupt your little stream.
Oh. I'm on camera.
The
Dude,
Pence.
we got two of them. We got one trying to freaking block the light, even though there's way too much light for a little shit. And the other one said, "No, I know how to do it.
Yep.
Camera."
Yeah. By the way, Pence's fly dropped by. He dropped by to block the camera. He wanted to close it, Mr. DeVille. Yeah. So as far as this goes, like,
But see,
like-
if it was done right and the rich, well, basically people in charge, me or you, because it's my ideal and I want to run with you, just because we're in charge, it's not, we're gonna, haha, I'm in charge now, like everybody else does with communism, completely fuck everybody else. That's
So-
what I want to not do.
so this part of the podcast, it's basically part 5. It's like the extended version
Yeah.
because of what happened with the discrepancy of the technicalities. So we're just
Yeah, I
talking
don't
about
know what the
random.
hell
We're just talking
happened there.
about random government stuff now. We're back to his favorite topic in the world.
Well, you also asked how I would, so,
Yes. No, I did.
it's the whole communist thing.
I am dead set
Done
on stories.
properly.
You're dead set on government.
Well, because I know I've talked about this with enough people in my life, and they're like, no, that's how it actually needs to be ran. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep preaching it until, yes, we're gonna put you in office. Shut the fuck up and just do it. Thank you.
Well, you know what they've been doing in Canada, right? And a few other different countries during this pandemic.
I've heard some of it. Yeah.
They've been literally been like, oh, you guys are dealing with hardships. Here's $1,000 for the month. Here's an extra $1,000. Like whatever your income is, we're gonna equalize it, and then we're gonna throw an extra $1,000. That's what they've been doing. And here we are with our current government, arguing for the last 9 months over
How much we're gonna get if we're
over
gonna
like
get it,
$1,200 per person or like $600 per person or
or
whatever.
2,000 per person.
Yeah, and they've been arguing about it, and yet they're going to send like 500 million or billion of that money that was in the stimulus overseas. Like overseas is going to get paid for, but we're not. For just $1.64 a day for 365 days, you
Okay,
can sponsor
now see,
America.
here's where I'm getting lost on that. Is it overseas to Americans that are overseas, or
No.
if we're just throwing it at overseas?
It's
freaking-
it's foreign
to
countries.
pay off our freaking
It's
debts.
art institutes in Africa. It's people in Belgium, Germany. It's
Why
foreign
are we paying the
allies.
homeland? We don't need to pay Germany. Those motherfuckers
We're
already
paying-
tried their shit. The fucking Nazis did it wrong, and then everybody got, oh my god, the Nazis. It's like,
I don't
If
have the
it-
exact
it-
drop down
it-
list spreadsheet of what it is, but there's foreign allies, war efforts, other things that are part of that stimulus that's going overseas.
so we're paying taxes and we're paying everybody else's bills and fuck our bills and
Well,
put ourselves more in
I
debt.
honestly, my logic was trying to compute it as we took and borrowed money to spend money, and so my thought is that stimulus is going to try and pay off the money while at the same time spending the money. So it's being sent overseas to pay off a debt that's being created while at the same time spending money on our own people.
But see, we shouldn't have to freak.
That's
we
my
should
logic
just
anyway.
give
I don't know if that's
1,000
correct.
because
I don't know if that's correct. Just letting
You-
you know, I don't know if that's
I know
correct, but that's my
you
logic.
Pacific have paid it back. You've paid into it at least that much in taxes.
Yeah, I have. I computed actually on how much I spend in taxes between medical and regular taxes, and it's about $600 every 2 weeks.
Yeah, but see, the funny part is, stimulus is supposed to come out of our taxes. So if we're paying taxes, because I still pay taxes, because I buy food, I have the loan to buy the
Or no, it's
house,
$600 per month. So it's like
gas, yes.
throughout the year I've spent a little over 3 or 4 grand over the year on
Yeah,
taxes.
but see, the thing is, we should automatically get that back. It's not just tax returns. That's the money we give to the government to run all the shit.
yeah.
Because nobody, half the freaking stuff that's
Well, that's why we
paid for
get
by the
current
government.
income tax credit, and we get all these other tax credits and all this other stuff. It's like a lottery system essentially. When I do my tax with TurboTax and with when other people do it with HR Block, they all tell me the same thing. That you basically do a credit system is how it works for taxes.
It's all bullshit, man. We throw so much money into the government, and then they don't pay us back the proper amount because we need this amount. No, at the end of freaking World War II, we weren't supposed to be being taxed at all. But yet every other country taxes like 2 to 3 times, maybe even 4 times what we pay in taxes.
Government also hates people who work on their own, like people that aren't
Independent contractors.
the independent
Like me
contractors.
with
My
DoorDash.
Aunt Tammy, she
Oh,
does
that's what DoorDash
transcription, and she does teaching with the
That's
school.
what my artwork
And
is.
my uncle Arno is a realtor, and because of the fact that their
Really
income
making it
together,
more
because
tax
they
on.
file married, joint and everything, because their income goes over a certain bracket, and because they're independent contractors,
well,
they actually get taxed more, and so they end up spending at least 40% of their total income throughout the year on taxes at the end of the year. So they actually spend money instead of getting it back.
Well, you're only supposed to get taxed. I think it's like.
For them, it's like 40%. They have to like really put away money every single year.
But see, that's bullshit. It shouldn't be 40% because
My dad does the same thing. He spends like at least $3,000 in taxes every year.
after paying in the taxes.
After paying in the taxes and after paying in everything, because he's got his military retirement and he's got a Steris with Steris Company. He's not a contractor.
Okay.
He's got his military retirement and he's got his Steris pay. By the end of the year, he's paying into the system. So he's paying like $2,000 into the system. It's like $2 or $3,000. So he has to set aside money every single year to pay the government. He ends up paying.
Well, that's
money
like
instead
what
of
I've
getting
been
it back.
doing with DoorDash. I'm setting 30% to the side, but with as little as I made the last, let's see, October, November, December, the last basically 2.5 months, I might even have to pay taxes because I didn't make more than 15 grand.
Well, he gets 1,000 and change from his retirement, which he always used for paying rent, and then the Steris was the extra pay that he used to take care of bills and everything else.
Well, yeah.
And so those people are getting taxed at the end of the year versus refunded. So our tax system is literally broken.
Well, it's been broken for years. Because, what was it? Like I was saying, the podcast today, Barnacles was talking about with David not Tennant. What's the guy who plays Rodney McKay? Atlantis. That actor and Apex, I think is the co-host, the other co-host name. Well, that's his screen name. But they were talking about how, and he was talking about, well, in Canada certain things, but they were. I lost my train of thought. Hang on a sec. I got. What were we talking about? Taxes. Oh, that taxes aren't wrong, but the way we currently are doing the taxes, how the higher end get the payouts better than the lower end is as complete BS, and we should all be equal. But because they make a little bit more, it's not we want them to pay more, it's they should pay their equal share and not get a full write-off because they threw all this money at, donated it to non-profits. It's, no, you shouldn't get all that money back because you basically just threw all your money into non-profits, so that way at the end of the year, hey, I made $50 million, and guess what? I got $50 million back. Ha! I'm being an asshole.
Yeah.
You should only get like a quarter of that. Well, they didn't say an amount. In my head, you get a quarter of that back from whatever you donated. If you got that much, you should only get a little bit of it back, not the full lump sum, or however much you get back, because it's way, way too much.
I don't know about that one.
Well, no, it is, because if we threw all of our money instead of paying for a mortgage or paying for freaking food and all this other stuff, we just threw all our money at non-profits, and at the end of the year, we're like, woohoo! I actually
Are you
spent all my
talking about
money and I'm homeless.
the donations that people make, where they're
Yeah.
write-offs? The write-offs is what
Yeah.
you're saying.
Because
So
depending
you want to
on,
reduce the write-offs
on
that
your
you can do.
bracket, depends on how much you get back on that.
Right. That's what the
We should
Republicans
lower
actually did
it.
with tax code. What they did with the tax code for the Republicans is they
It
revised
was for
the
the
system.
higher end.
and they
It wasn't
increased-
just Republicans.
They
it was just
increased
higher
certain
end.
brackets while at the same time revising other brackets where you couldn't do a line item write-off anymore.
Yeah.
You could do a total collective sum while at the same time changing and adjusting. So, for instance, the earning income tax credit for the kids, for each child, for dependents, went down a little bit, but the other stuff went up, and so it kind of like equalized itself out. They
I
already
wanna
did a version
Fix
of
it so that way it's equal straight across. But
Okay.
that's why to actually get it properly equal, honestly, I think we just need to take away the money. Because money's the issue. I have $1 million. No, you have nothing.
So how would you?
You can keep your house.
Readjust the money system then? Like how would you? Would you?
You actually have to work for it. That's like
That's
what
what
was
we
it?
do.
They were talking about the guy who owns Amazon.
Mhm.
Yeah, he got a big tax bracket because he this many jobs. Yeah, but also he didn't make that many jobs because half of the jobs are counting. He actually turned into the machines are doing the jobs, so you don't need. So he didn't actually hire that many people, so he shouldn't have got as big a tax refund.
By the way, guys, just so you know, when I challenge him on certain things and I ask him questions of like how are we doing this or why are we doing this type of thing, I'm not in direct opposition of him. I'm literally just trying to get him to answer a question or to pose a challenge.
Show you guys my viewpoint.
Right. I'm trying to challenge his viewpoint and trying to get him to rise above the challenge and explain how he would go about doing something. My role as lieutenant governor would would be to drive a certain form of guidance to equalize him out and reinforce to him balance and reinforce to him structure and reinforce to him the science of it versus what he wants to do. So it's like, this is what he wants to do, but this is how we're going to get there. This is the science of it, but this is what
That's
he
why
wants.
you're the lieutenant governor.
Right.
It's
And
like,
so it's
this is what I want to do. How the fuck do we do that again?
right. And so it's like how so it's I'm
But I
introducing the how
understand
and the
that.
why. I'm introducing the how and the why and asking him to break down for me what that means
And I
and how we're going to
understand
get
that.
there and how we're going to calculate. I just wanted to explain it to them because the whole time they're going to be listening to this and be like, dude, the other guy just keeps asking him questions and keeps saying, blah, 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 and it sounds like he's opposing him. Why are they running together? Like, that's what they're going to say. So I'm just trying to explain
But
to
see,
them.
that's always your running partner should be the exact opposite of you. Now you can pick like Bada did. Hey, tits and puss because it's the exact opposite of me. And isn't she black? Hey, look, the complete exact opposite. Or just pick somebody like my brother-in-law, who's thinks about stuff differently than I do. So that way, when we put both of our ideals together, he figures out how to do it, or I have the ideal on what I want to do, and both of us together end up making the plan work.
And he's more leftist, I'm more right. Like, I'm more economic centrist, whereas he's more left. Like, he's very
Why
left.
do you see that?
Because you want to change the system in a way that makes it equal for everybody, and you also want to undo the capitalistic structure of our society, which is very Republican, which is very,
Well, actually,
very
technically,
right leaning. So I go more right
Republicans
leaning in
now-
certain ways, while I'm also left leaning in other ways.
Republican now used to be Democrat back in the 1950s and further
Right.
back.
But currently right now, we're focused on now and what they are now.
Yeah, but see, half the stuff that people claim as
I know.
Republican aren't proper Republican anyways.
You're flashing back to like 60 years ago, and I'm going.
Well, no, it's
We're right
not
here.
even that. The Republican now, half the people who claim as Republican, like Donald Trump did, even though he's not Republican, he's not Democrat. I don't want to claim either.
Okay.
I just want to no, I'm not either. You just will put me down on Republican because you guys need me to be somewhere on the what is it GOP,
Yeah,
Ballot?
GOP, yeah.
so that way my name actually pops up.
Great old party.
Yeah, right. But I mean, I see what your viewpoint is, but my thing is, it's also no. You should have the right to own a gun,
Mm-hmm.
but to own a gun, you should also know how the son bitch works and know how to properly use it. And if you want to go hunt animals instead of get your, allotted amount, okay, you hunt it, you bring it in, you weigh it, or you cut it apart, and then we see what you got. Okay, you don't need to come in for meat because you killed a deer or you killed whatever was in season. So you got your meat. I have nothing wrong with hunting and that. I never got taught how to do that. That's the part that pisses me off the most. I know how to fish. I never got taught how to hunt like deer and elk and that sort of and bears when they're in season. I didn't get taught that crap, which pisses me off because I don't know how to skin hang a freaking animal so that way I can provide for my family when the world actually, if it does go to shit.
Yeah.
And all the stuff that's supposed to run the system, like our governments and the way everything goes, when it all goes to crap, that's why I want to fix the system so that way if it all goes to crap, it's not going to change anything because we already got a system that works.
Yeah. Okay.
That's my ideal. It's the system that works so that way if everything goes down, the electronics and whatnot go down, we still have the list already pre-printed out, so we have everybody figured out so that way we don't need all the electronics.
why
Because
they
that's
might-
everybody's fear has been since the like mid 90s.
Mhm.
Because everything started becoming computerized and whatnot from like 95 on. It's become more computerized. We need to have a system so that way even if everything goes to crap, we can still run the system.
Yeah.
And if we have it figured out in America, then everybody will be like, wait, how'd you do that? Let's look at your blueprint. Sort of thing. And then we'll all be running on the same system. We won't be fighting over money and stupid shit because money will be worthless at that point.
Yeah. So I'm looking up something that my buddy Alan sent me ages ago.
Go for it.
He sent me this thing that he thinks should happen. Let's see here, because we mostly talked on the phone, so it shouldn't be too hard for me to find it.
Yeah, no, I got you.
So, this is something that he sent me about voting, actually. He said, in this day and age, in an age where information flows at the tip of a finger, why is it that our voting system is more outdated than our cars? We as United States citizens deserve a secure and safe voting model and the platform in which to do it. 1. 3-step identity verification. ID driver's license valid and shows at a minimum 30 days of face being valid. Facial recognition and fingerprint recognition. These servers will be secured. That's what he was saying.
Okay.
Servers will be secured with the highest level of security and intensity that should be the standard. Detecting and mitigating voter fraud eliminates multiple votes to one individual, which also answers the question that was posed in November.
Yep.
With this comes the glaring need to change how votes are counted. To start this grants us the opportunity to eliminate the electoral college vote, which locks the field to any other party from having any chance at a fair political campaign. To ensure that no one state has any more say, or if any other state, the voting system will no longer recognize individual states when voting is initiated. Instead, voting will be counted as each individual citizen, as the United States citizen geographic location and population per state should have no part in how elections are decided. Individual states have their own laws, and many already address many issues. This will grant voice to the voiceless and marginalized. This will also grant access to third-party candidates that are under current systems that are locked out from any attempts at becoming a candidate that has a chance. This can also be paired with term limits and age limits. Term limitations. Every single political position should become an elected position, and every position should be limited to 10 years with 2 terms of 5 years each. Age limits would be from 30 to 65, 65 being the standard age of retirement. These individuals will also be given a wage of $150,000 a year for all political positions and a pension that would be $150 mil at the fullest, with the option to withdraw all at retirement or take it all in installments. These are just some thoughts I had about this matter, and that's something that he sent to me ages ago that I finally am able to read out on somewhere. Those are not things that I'm absolutely subscribing to. I'm just saying those are ideas and things that.
But
we
see,
could
some
think
of those
about.
ideals are good.
Yeah.
But also, we can't forget about the whole paper ballot. Because even when you do it electronic, you got the printer that prints out the paper ballot.
Yeah.
But this year, because of the craziness.
Did that for you, Alan, by the way, if you ever watch this.
But because of the craziness with the mail and everything, I freaking mailed in my mail-in ballot like a month and a half, 2 months early. Because I'm like, nah, I ain't fucking around with this stupidity.
Yeah. I mean, you can do that. That's what the mail-in ballot's for.
Well, yeah, the only issue I had is I had to go online, and we were talking about that on the first
Yep.
episode about
First episode, yep.
you're not a registered voter. I'm like, what are you talking about? Because apparently I missed a couple, like we were talking about. We missed a couple of the in-state elections that I didn't hear about on any social media or anywhere.
Oh yeah, no, I got the ballots in the mail when we were moving and when we were not moving, but when we were doing other stuff like a couple years ago, and for some reason the ballots just went missing. And then when I asked them for the new ones, they never sent me it, and then they finally sent me it literally 2 years later.
Right?
Like I was like, wait, didn't this election already end? And yet they sent me a ballot, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, you can't do backdated voting either. So like I was stuck with that, and then on the state website it said you missed two general local elections, and I was like,
Local elections for
Really?
what first?
right, and so they didn't, so it wasn't necessarily mapped out. So, so that's something that we would want to change as well. We want to make it easier for people to be able to vote, and we also want to
And
make
people
it,
with disabilities
Yeah.
and who don't have cars like you, so that way it's not a big pain in the ass.
right. And I know that mail-in ballots are a thing, but at the same time, mail-in ballots require you to be able to walk or drive or ride the bus somewhere. And while those are still things that you can, that I know that there's workarounds, but we want to make it easier for those people that have those issues.
And on that, I would also think that everybody, because when you get your mail-in ballot, it comes with a little ink thing,
Mm-hmm.
so you can thumb and teach everybody how to put their thumbprint on a piece of paper properly. So that way we have not just verification from your signature, but verification from your thumb.
People
Or
are going
your
to be
index
uneasy
finger.
about that thought process.
Why?
There are already people that can't stand the fact that their phones want to collect their fingerprint.
But the funny
Or their
part
face.
is, that's how, back in the 80s, you put your kid's fingerprint, and they still do it, on the, this is my child, they're lost. Here's their fingerprints.
Oh,
Here's the thumb thing
my
on,
parents,
on that.
my parents did that to us when we were younger.
But I mean, they're still doing that because we did it, me and my wife did it with our kids. Well,
Yeah, Nikki
the
and Connor.
oldest one.
Connor.
I don't think they had it going, or we didn't catch it within the last couple years for the younger one. But I mean, that used to be a thing. It's like, they have your fingerprints, they have your DNA, they have this, they have that. Dude, if they really want your shit, it's called, they pick up your trash every week. If they really want to, somebody drives by, because there's so many people who drive by in the neighborhood, they can get your DNA off your freaking trash while you're sleeping in the middle of the night when nobody's paying attention.
I remember some
as
dystopian
good
stories
as
with that.
the government is with their technology, that we don't even freaking see half of the freaking stuff that's black that the president and other higher ups don't really know about because it's not really a part of the government. We don't actually exist. Bullshit. They can block all cameras and anything, and everybody in the neighborhood's just got a blackout on their camera security for their house. And then what ends up happening? They get your DNA, they have all your shit on file, and no offense, they probably already do, because before the cameras became the biggest thing for security, when it was just basic systems to push in the codes so nobody get in your house, they probably already did that back in the fucking 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
In the early 2000s, before it became real big and it was too goddamn expensive for everybody to have it in their house. So 90% of the damn genetics they have. And you have kids, cool. You two are married, okay. Throw the genetics together. Okay, we have possible outcomes. We'll find your kids. We'll know who they are.
Yeah.
Because you can randomize that shit in a computer and let's see, this person's DNA. Whose is it close to? That person, that person. Hey, look, they actually have kids. Okay, it was one of their kids. I mean, because, what was the fucking shit show? Maury Popid and a couple others. You are 99.6%, Daddy. No, I'm not 100%, motherfucker. They only got 99.6. Shut up, bitch. But I remember they did that crap in the freaking. That was TV shows.
Yeah.
Jerry Springer even did some of that crap when he first came on the scene. So they've been doing this shit since the fucking late 90s.
Yeah, they
It's
have
not that hard to do. And I know they can do it. So if we can do it,
they did it in The Giver. Like, I know I'm talking about dystopian sci-fi right now, but in The Giver and in Hunger Games and so many other different stories, that's been a factor in the plot. Divergent.
So
but I mean, it's a fact that we can do now. And we just need to use the science to map out the genetic code better so we know exactly what it means.
I got my wife to talk for 5 seconds. You just heard her beautiful voice. She's literally just been laying on the bed this entire time, reading whatever she's reading on her phone.
But the funny part is, how much sci-fi has actually turned into science? Actual regular just science.
A lot.
Why? Because sci-fi is the ideal. Can we do this? hey, look, we figured out how to do it. Now it's
And
regular
Barack
science.
Obama did stem cell research, or at least had people do stem cell research while he revised a healthcare law.
Okay, one of the things on the podcast with the three guys I mentioned earlier, if you don't know who they are, rewind, blah, blah,
Barnacles.
figure it out. Yeah, it's his Saturday podcast. I don't remember the other guys' names. Don't. My brain, not right now. Because I'm going to end this here shortly because I'm starting to get a little tired. But the thing they were talking about was... And I lost my train of thought.
We've gone for 3 hours. You're a trooper.
Wait, what were we talking about? Because I lost my train of thought there for
We're
a
talking
second.
about voter ID, identification, thumbprint, and how they've done it in sci-fi stories.
Oh no, they were talking about how Star Trek,
Yeah.
them saying antimatter, and how we figured out how to throw two helium atoms together so hard it created antimatter.
Yeah.
Now, is it antimatter because this is what they previously called it, and because we figured out how to do it, and because it already had a name in sci-fi, that's just the name we're going to give it? Or did we actually decide that's what it was because somebody said, no, we're going to call this antimatter? Or because it was already in sci-fi and we figured out how to make it, we just took the name and said, this is what we're leaving it as. That's 90% of sci-fi. We figured out how to do it. It already has a name. Sticker. We're good. Because science is never 100% right. Because if it was 100% right, it wouldn't be science and you never get to the next level. That's like the same with math. Math is science. That's physics.
Yeah.
It's a math and it's a science. When we figure out we got it wrong, it'll be the new physics. You always go up, you never go down. That's why I want to fix the system so that way we can all be elevated and not be half of us shit poor and can't afford a fucking car or a house or feed our damn selves or our kids. That's my biggest bitch. The other thing is I just want to fix the freaking school system so that way we're not teaching our kids half-assed and half-slow because half the kids learn slow. Okay, those half who can't keep up with the kids who learn faster, no offense, yes, we need to separate them so that way the kids who learn faster in this subject have this specific class for that subject, and those who learn a little slower are with this teacher who teaches it at their speed.
Yeah.
We need to separate it so that way teachers teach at certain speeds for certain kids. Because you can test that nowadays. Because some people learn math that super fast, like me, and some people learn it regular speed, and some people learn it super slow. But that's like some people with history, science, arts.
My kid learns things slowly.
But I mean, each person should have their own group that, okay, y'all learn at this speed or within a range of speeds of each other, so we're going to keep y'all in a group. I mean, it'll slightly help with some of the socialization because I don't have to get along with normal people because I already have my group of normal. This is my normal group, so I keep with my group.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not segregation by money. It's segregation by this is... But see, even if you learn and that's the group you get, I know people who are smart as shit who still hang out with the people who are way dumber than them. Why? Because one, they're funny, or two, it's a good conversation. Like where you know certain things that I don't know, and you, like you were talking earlier about how you see stories and I don't see them that way.
Yeah.
And you're trying to show me the steps so that way I can move on with my stories.
Yeah, because he's got like a cyborg tail that's been sitting in development hell forever. Because he doesn't exactly he knows that the character wakes up, and he knows that they have like this technology on their body because they're pretty much machine. They're basically a cyborg by nature versus by actuality because the guy's mostly pretty much just machine. But he knows that the guy's consciousness is in a body, but it's mostly a metal body. And
it's not his original body.
It's not his original body. So he wakes up and he knows that the guy looks at his body and stuff, but that's where the story pretty much, that's where he's got. Is he hasn't really developed per se a plot necessarily.
Well, because
He's
that's
getting
a story
a plot.
from back in the late 80s.
Right.
It's a whole one that I
Right.
never went anywhere with.
Right, but what I'm saying is that's the thing you were telling me about. You may have other stories that I have no fucking clue about, but that's the
But,
one that you're telling
yeah.
me about. is the Cyborg story. So I'm trying to kind of like get him like an idea of how to carry that forward and turn that into something. And so he's got his
I
viewpoints
have
of
it.
how he sees things. I've got mine, and it's fun.
We
because when you
both
put
see
them
it different ways. That's
you have-
why we work
When
well.
you put them together, you get, and we are so similar enough that it works.
Yep.
We're not like butting heads or anything. We're like meshing, which is awesome.
Yeah, but we need to end this because I need to go home and get some sleep.
Yeah, so he's falling asleep right now in the chair, and I am still wired, but I know that we've come up on 3 hours. This has been insane, but it's been an extension to the original timeline, which is normally 2 hours. So, thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for listening to us talk about so many different topics. Again,
It
talking
was a
about
blast.
talking about everything that we've been talking about, whether it's storytelling, superpowers, fucking ripping the universe, politics again, licenses, how shitty some governments are, how you can make them better. But yeah, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you guys for being part of us. We're gonna do this again next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. The Crazies, Crazy Peas, and I am Thomas Paxton,
I'm Tim Potter.
and that is Ben and the Crazy Peas.
We'll see y'all next week.
Have a week.
Don't kill